Hello, and welcome to episode 79 of Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Antony Chesson, and joining me this week is the other spark on the pod, a man who spends every day as if it's a roguelike adventure. It's Mr. Darren Whittam.
Hi, how are you doing?
Not too bad, sir, not too bad. And joining us this week, it's the Tesco croque-monsieur model himself. God, it's Mr. James Thomas.
I came to talk to you guys to get away from this. This chap in Tesco has been making my life hell since he made an appearance, and I can't get away from it. The worst thing is, because for the backstory, Tesco, a British supermarket, is running an advertising campaign where normal people make recipes, and they have these standees in their stores, and one of them supposedly looks a bit like me. And all I've had from people at work, from you guys, from my friends on Twitter, from my friends in real life, even my brother-in-law the other day, about 2 weeks late to the party, sent me a WhatsApp going, what are you doing in Tesco's? It's oh my word. I can't get away from it. I'd be really happy when they change advertising campaigns or something, because it's anyway, hi.
I saw it at a bus shelter yesterday when I was walking through Manchester, and I was going to take a picture and go, this James Thomas is not very chatty.
My boss did say he had his head down shopping, and he, quote unquote, saw me in the sandwich aisle and almost stopped to say hi. He did a proper double take. So
oh wow, that's just hilarious. That is very funny. If anyone, go to tescos.co.uk or .com, and he's there.
Well, I might do it because I didn't know about this. So I think...
Oh, you should do it.
Darren, just please spare me.
All right, mate. You know what? I won't look. I'll just leave it.
All you need to do is just walk around Tesco's with some cut-up croque-monsieur, and they would never throw you out. They would just think you work there.
In the canteen this Friday coming, they've actually changed the menu to have Ian's proper croque-monsieur with my face next to it. It's taken new levels of trolling now. It really has.
Oh, that's awesome. Can we get pictures, please? So, at Big Sheep on Twitter for all of these pictures.
I'm going to the pub Friday lunch.
It's superb. So apart from being trolled by everybody in your life, how's your week been, James?
It's been really good. Up until now. So my sister and I and Ali went on an adventure last night to pick up a danger potato.
A danger potato? A
danger potato, which is my sister's nickname for her new pet hedgehog.
Oh, I see. I thought it might have been a pet name for Croque Madame.
No, I'm told because the hedgehogs look a bit potato-like, and of course they're spiky. But she's taking it in after from a rescue centre, because I think the rescue centre collects them if they've been like illegally brought in or collected from the RSPC or something. So she's effectively rehoming it after a troublesome start to his life. So yeah, we went halfway across the Midlands to pick him up, and he's a little cutie. He's got a proper little wrinkly nose, and you can stroke his spines and a little furrow. He does proper little huffs. It's only something I've found out since looking it up after speaking to her yesterday, that hedgehogs are really quite huffy.
Right.
I've got a friend on Twitter who's got a pet hedgehog as well, and supposedly if they're in a bad mood, they'll just sit there and go like proper tiny little spiky humans.
You're going to create a Twitter account at Hedgehog Huff.
Danger Potato should have his own Twitter account.
Or hashtag Hedgehog Huff.
Because when I saw your sister tweeting that, she was like, I'm going to pick up hashtag Danger Potato. I thought it was just a new card game that the Thomases were going to be playing. I was like, I must check out Danger Potato on Amazon later.
It's the greatest hit for all the family.
Is there a big illegal trade in hedgehog trading?
I honestly don't know. I think the lady that we picked him up off of says that she's getting another one in a couple of days' time. So I assume there is at least a steady stream of ones looking for new homes. But yeah, I think over in America it's slightly more commonplace to have a hedgehog as a pet, or at least according to my Twitter friend. But yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard anyone over here have one that isn't just like a rescue one from like St. Tiggywinkles or anything like that.
They're a bit flea-ish, aren't they? Don't they pick up a lot of fleas and stuff? Do you get them sorted out?
I think if there's the wild ones.
But the domesticated type, you can sort them out.
Yeah, lots of bars, I see. Yeah, but supposedly they love having a little bit of a swim.
Wow.
So yeah, there's already a cute picture of him doing laps around the sink. So.
Oh, really? Well, that's just so cool. He's just adorable. He's just really cool. So, of course, I kind of saw that and I just looked straight at Nicola and I was like, I want one.
Weren't you wanting to try and keep bees the other week as well?
Yes, but she said no. I thought,
did she say no to this one as well?
Kind of, yes. And then I went from there. I went on to a tortoise because we've got this really cool light well in the movie room. There's a really cool light well where we've put gravel and some plants. And I just thought if I put, occasionally we get cats jump down there and they just like to kind of look at us watching movies. But I thought if I put like some glass across the top of this light well, we could have a pet. A pet could live there. You know, it'd be a really cool area for a pet. So that's why I like a hedgehog or a tortoise, and they both got no. But I really wanted to keep. We were watching some gardening program, and they were talking about bees, and I was like, I really want to keep bees, and Nicola just went nope, and that was it. I was like, okay, no worries, move on.
Apiarist Antony,
I tried.
Got a root to it.
Yeah, that would just be just sell my own honey, Sparks honey, and everything.
Oh wow!
So,
what's the hedgehog called? Sonic.
No, it's named TBD at the moment. I think Danger Potato is growing momentum at this
DP.
point in time.
He could be a superhero hedgehog. I just think that's just absolutely superb. So, Daz, how's your week been? How have you had any? Have you adopted any hedgehogs?
No pets apart from that, I suppose. Yeah, I had a friend visit from down south. One of my old work friends came for the weekend, so that was good. He's not a gamer, so when he comes round, I sort of showcase the latest technology. So I'd see him every 6 months or 8 months, something like that. So he comes round and he arches one eyebrow, and I sort of roll out the latest stuff that I've got for his for his judgment, and try and impress him, which is quite difficult to do. But yeah, he was grudgingly impressed with VR, which is quite good. You know, it was quite an accolade for him to.
Grudgingly, was he quite hesitant about using it then?
No, he was all right about using it, but he was grudging with his liking of it, really, because he's sort of determined not to like any tech. He decided years ago that it's all boring and he doesn't like it, meaning games and stuff. So it's difficult to sort of curry favour with him when you show him like the latest this and that and whatnot. He's like, whatever. So it's dead hard to impress him. But he did say, you know, he came away impressed after going on the Vive, so that was quite good. So I just showed him the usual. It's like some kind of ceremony for me now. It's like, right, I never get to have a go. It's just like, okay, right, we'll do the tutorial, then we'll go off to go underwater, then we'll go and put you in this and you can have a bit of a shoot about, then we'll put you in some sportsy type game. And I'm just like, I love watching people, but it's starting to feel a bit formulaic. Whenever I have somebody new round, it's like, okay, let's just roll out the VR again.
But you've got your patter down to a T, surely.
Oh yeah, I've got the old patter sorted, and I'm the perfect VR host, really. You know, get the headset on all right, get people comfortable, just make them happy, troubleshoot any problems that may happen, you know, on the fly. So yeah, he was quite happy. So well done, Gav. I appreciate your your approval of VR. That was good. So that was my mate Gav that came down. It was quite good. The only other thing of consequence probably is just the cold hard teeth of being out of date with some areas of my tech are biting a bit deep. My iPad, for instance. Sam, I was at a party or something with my little boy, and we had the iPad because we had Pokemon Go with us. And so I thought, yeah, Sam's going to like this because he's got the nice big screen. But he reached for another parent's phone. I was like, what do you want the phone for? We've got it on the iPad here. Mine's an iPad 3. It's old now. And he kind of went, well, it's all slow and like, and as he said, like, he sort of did a jerky hand gesture, like a ticking clock, in front of his face to indicate the frame rate.
Oh.
And he was like, yeah, it's dead nice on that one. He said it looks good on that one, but on this one it's like this. And he did like a ticking clock gesture. And I was like, no! He's moaning about frame rate on Pokemon Go. Oh, man. And my iPhone's a complete disaster. It's getting so hard because I always said that I'd wait for ages for a new phone. And it's getting near. And it seems that it's just so hard to ignore all the faults now. It's like I can't do anything on it without just getting furious with blank pages that won't load, or it buffering up touches and then doing like pausing for like 5 minutes and then all of a sudden doing all the touches at once, so I just end up in the middle of nowhere on the internet.
Have you tried doing like a factory reset just to see if it gives it a flush and a fresh release of life?
Yeah, but it's to no avail, man. It's awful. It's terrible. but I'm sticking. You know, I'm so close now to iPhone 8 that I can't just get an interim phone in the meantime. Really, you know, I think I'm talking, you know, months away. So it's just hurting me. So
September, I would say.
Yeah, I would imagine it's September, which feels like an eternity away, but it'll soon come around.
I'm going to say that's over half a year. Do you reckon it'll still be going by then? A few more OS updates?
Well, it doesn't. My iPhone 4 doesn't get any iOS updates anymore. It stopped at something like 7, I think, which baffles me. That's it. It baffled me. I was like, how's it going so slow? Because this isn't getting the updates. But I think what it is that the internet's getting more complex, the pages get more complex, and it just hasn't got the oomph to deal with it. Oh, it's really, really awful trying to do anything on either of my mobile devices. It's driving me crazy.
I have a spare 5S you can have if you want, if it kind of gets you to September.
Oh, that's so kind, mate. Thank you. But no, I've got to pay the price. I've got to do the time.
My goodness,
I've got to do it. It's just my typical stubborn thing. It's like a roguelike. It's just like I've got to endure the pain because then I'll appreciate the end game. If I took a 5 off you, say, and things were like so much better, then I wouldn't appreciate it. I want to appreciate jumping 4 iterations at once. It's been a dream for so long. So yeah, that's me. Just getting annoyed with out of date mobile tech and trying to impress people that aren't gamers. And coming off so about that. Yeah, he was quite happy with it.
Superb, excellent stuff. So James, what have you been playing?
Well, it's probably without. Should we get the Hitman bit out of the way?
Oh yeah, go for it.
So not this weekend, but the weekend before, Ali went away with a friend down to Bath, and I decided to try and rinse Hitman for the last of my achievements on it, because I thought I want to get this out of the way before the boxed version hits and the new episode that you mentioned last week. So I was good. I did go out the house. I go for a run. I did go out and get food shopping and stuff like that. But for most of that weekend, I pretty much just sat on the sofa and tried to get all the last achievements that I was waiting for with Hitman.
Wow.
So just special things like on one of the Bangkok hotel levels, you have to go around and shoot 18 porcelain elephants that happen to be in someone's room. Just like really weird stuff that you wouldn't actually find without looking at a guide, I think. So yeah, I pretty much did that, and I think I almost burnt myself out on Hitman doing it. I just got to the point where I must have spent at least 12 hours over the course of a couple of days just going after achievement after achievement after achievement, and I need a break. I think I've come to the point now where I just need a break. I love that game so much. I have put nearly 120 hours into it, and I just think I need to now take maybe a step back, wait a week or so before going back in for the new level that gets launched today.
You do, but do you want to?
No! No!
Awesome.
I love how you're going to wait a week as well. You know, it's just a week.
Yes. When Antony invited me back on, I pretty much messaged him back going, I should probably play something other than Hitman then, so I don't bore your listeners.
So
apart from Hitman, I have actually been playing Titan Souls, which I've been meaning to do for ages, because I met the guys who did it at Gamescom probably like 2, maybe 3 years ago now, and I was really excited by it, and I think I just completely missed it coming out. It was one of these games that had been touted around for a while, and then I just missed the launch because it seemed to have been around forever. But I'm really getting into it, but I'm finding it quite an intense game, so I'm having to pick my moments when I play it. So Titan Souls it looks like 16-bit top-down, like adventuring sort of game, and you're a tiny little man with a bow and arrow that you can fire, and you can gambol and sprint, and that's about all your moveset. And the entire game is about boss battles. It's a whole boss run. I don't know how many are in it, but I've come across about 10 or 12 so far, and it's just intense because it's one-hit kill. Like if they tap you even once, then you're back to the last checkpoint and you have to run around and try and find the entrance to the boss battle again. But what it does really nicely is just give you a huge variety of bosses to actually try and attack. So the first couple that you find are there's a giant heart, or I think it's a brain within an ice cube. and you need to fire your bow and arrow through a flame and then try and hit the ice cube so it melts, and then try and shoot it again once it's melted to try and take it down. So it's all about positioning and angling yourself. And then there's another one. There's a giant yeti that tries to throw snowballs at you, and then he'll rollerball himself and try and charge you. But when he comes out of that, his butt will be bared for a fraction of a second, and you have to try and shoot him in the butt with your bow and arrow. So there's just lots of interesting puzzle-based bosses, I guess. It almost seems like Shadow of Colossus in the sense that you have these big set pieces, and you've just got to figure out how to take them down in one go, or at least survive so that you can get to that point.
Wow, that sounds incredible. It sounds like a lot of Zelda bosses as well, such as the flame, the arrow through the flame to do the ice, and something rolling at you. The butt bit's a bit new, but that just sounds so cool. I mean, I did try and play. I think I tried to play it on the Vita, because it's on the Vita as well, isn't it?
Yes.
But I just don't think that's a good place for it. I think it might have been. I think it probably lends itself better to the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I pretty much had the same thing. I thought it would be quite a good, because I always think the Vita is my indie machine. I love taking it around for that, and you're right, I think because of the intensity and just how intricate some of the sprites can be, you need that larger scale to really take it in, really appreciate it, and possibly just give yourself a bit more of a tactical advantage over the bosses that are trying to swipe at you. But it's funny you say Zelda, because there were a few interesting of the overworld puzzles to actually try and get to some of the bosses. So there was a point where I was having to fire my arrow through flames to trigger other flame pits, and eventually they'd chain across, and eventually I could open the door by melting some water that, again, just firing the arrow through the flames. But it just reminded me completely of Zelda, and also the way it was actually teaching you of, like, yes, you have to do that. You have to shoot your arrow through the flames and something happens.
Yes.
So it was a nice tutorial so that when you actually got into that boss battle, it's like, yep, try it out. It's good for you.
Fantastic. And wasn't that free? It was free, wasn't it, on PlayStation Plus?
That's right, yes. That was finally the kick at the backside I needed to give it a go.
Excellent stuff. Superb. Have you tried it, Darren?
Yeah, I've had a little go, actually. I think I've defeated about 3 or 4 bosses. So I've done the one with the brain in the ice cube, and I can't remember the other ones. There was one, the final one that I did, that was sort of the gateway through to a larger area, or to the hub area, was sort of like it was guarding the door to a temple, I think, and it was sort of outside in the forest. And I think it was hands, I think it was fists that were pummeling you all over the place in that level.
Yeah.
And that was the last one that I did. And I did that actually strangely I found that he couldn't hit you right at the bottom of the screen. Because I tried for a while.
Just cheesing it.
Yeah, I cheesed it. And I was like, I stood at the bottom and I was like, oh wow, look at this, he can't hit me. So I just lined myself up exactly central. Because even like that, you still only have a split second, I think, when he when he hits the ground. I think he becomes vulnerable or something. So it's very difficult, because you've got to roll out of the way of his punch and have your bow ready and aimed sort of within a split second.
It's one of those that if you get it wrong, you are dead.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because if you stay too long pulling your bow back, there's another fist coming down onto your head very quickly.
Yeah, and all the levels, they must follow suit. They just add that pressure, don't they? And that sort of, you've got to line it up right. There's that pressure always in the back of your mind. You're lining it up. Is it time to take the shot? Should I take that shot?
Well, that's it. The first few times I've been into the bosses, it's almost I want to try and survive for 30 seconds to a minute, just to try and drink in what's happening. What sort of patterns am I going to be looking at?
Just to understand the pattern, because otherwise, if you don't survive, it's bang, dead, and then you're just going to go in and not have a clue. Bang, dead. So you've got to be nimble. You've got to dodge, haven't you, at first, and you've just got to watch, and you've just got to survive long enough to watch. And while you're doing that and trying to survive, at the same time you're figuring out what are they asking me to do here, because it took me a little while with the brain in the ice cube, not too long, but it kept sliding and bouncing everywhere. So busy trying to avoid the ice block because it's insta-death. It's kind of like, well, I haven't got time to think about what to do. But it does sort of click. But I was early, obviously that's the first 3 or so that I was doing. And I suppose once your brain attunes to the mechanics of the game, you sort of get used to that more. But when it hits you straight away, I mean, they're probably very nice bosses. I found them quite difficult, but I'm sure they're very nice compared to what comes later. But that's what it's training you to do, isn't it? Watch, learn. Yeah. There's one way to do it. You've got one. I love it that it's one shot. It's sort of like if you do it, you're cool. You're super cool. You just walk in. Wow, what a hero! Otherwise, you're dead.
Yep. I did that with one of them. There was a giant cube that was rolling around, and on one face of that cube was an eyeball that you had to shoot.
Oh yeah, I remember I've done that one as well. Yeah,
I pretty much walked in, like saw him bouncing around, one shot him, and it finished.
I did too. Yeah, because I did the bow just because I was scared that he was rolling towards me, and by some amazing fluke, he rolled as I shot, and it rolled to show the eye, and then he died. And it's like, yay, that's how it's done. But it was a complete accident, really.
Yeah, I was expecting a second phase or something, but no, it's like, congratulations.
You're the best.
Okay. Yeah, I meant that.
Yeah, that's actually, so it must be a rubbish boss. Bad design. It shouldn't roll the eye. It shouldn't show the eye straight away like that.
But after all your talk of Rogue Legacy, it just made me think of you as I was going through it.
Yes, well, I put it on and I was showing Sam it, and he was like, this is cool. So I was like, yeah, well, you play it, Sam, you have a go. And basically it turned into the usual thing of like, he'd like walk, because there's really, or the bit I played, there's like no enemies, there's no challenges or chances to die in between the boss areas. I don't know if that changes later on, but it's all about the bosses, isn't it? So you find the boss, and so he found the boss, and he was like, oh right, yeah, pause, here you go, Daddy, you kill that. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I was just like,
here we go.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, let's just have a break. Let's just have a break from that. But yeah, I like it, but because I'm a bit rogueliked out at the moment, I stopped because I could see he was ramping up harder, and I thought, I'm just going down a rabbit hole here. I'm just going to have to pause. I'm not in the mood for another roguelike just yet. Even though I suppose it's not quite. Is it a roguelike? It hasn't got a shop in it.
No, I think it's literally just a boss run game, which is cool. But I do find it intense. I have to go back in intervals, shall we say. I can try one boss, but then I just need a step away.
Yeah, it's a hard indie.
Bit
Trip Runner's a bit like that for me.
Yeah, so I've been balancing that. I've been playing a bit of The Swindle as well, which I saw next to Titan Souls as the PSN games for this month. So I think I mentioned this last year when I was playing it on Steam. So it's just a good excuse to pick it back up again. But I do like The Swindle. It's one of these that's got randomly generated levels, but you're a thief that's got to sneak into the house and try and steal money, and you can upgrade yourself as you go through to put bugs down that could steal money from bank accounts over time, or give you powers like double jump or a delicate footstep so you don't get detected as you sneak through the house, because there's robot protectors everywhere, be it flying sentry guns or like policemen with red eyes on wheels that hoon after you if you get spotted. So just reintroducing that to myself and enjoying it.
Cool. Fantastic. And how does that look on? Because again, that's another one that I've played on the Vita. But does it kind of bode well on the PlayStation 4?
Yeah, it looks really nice. I mean, when I was playing it on the PC in like high res, I think it's 2D, but it's very generously drawn 2D with like lots of nice sprites with round edges and lots of flavour in how sort of the character of the steampunk Victorian houses come across. So you can, I think it works well on the Vita, but you definitely get that better sense of style on the larger screen.
Oh, fantastic. Superb, because I was enjoying that on the Vita. I think I mentioned on a previous pod I was enjoying that. It was quite a nice kind of travel. Same as you know, my PlayStation Vita really is that indie box where I could just play these titles, and it was just, and I was really liking it. But I reckon there were some puzzles again that would kind of probably lend itself to a bigger screen.
Yeah, I think The Swindle's a great one for travelling as well, because the levels only take a couple of minutes at most if you want, and you can even quit out early if things are going south. So it's great for just that one more level or just squeezing it in between train stops.
Yes, absolutely, superb. So is that what you've been de-hitmanning with this week?
Yeah, it doesn't really pay homage to quite how much Hitman has been happening, so we'll leave it at that and leave my dignity intact.
But that new update, I mean, I just turned on my Xbox before I came up to Pod, and the new update's there. I think it's about 8 gig, isn't it? The new update for Hitman, because it does bring HDR as well. So it brings HDR for the Xbox One S, and I guess it's probably the same over in PS4 as well. But there's quite a lot of stuff, isn't there? There's the new bonus missions and weapon upgrades and challenges, and there's also a new hard mode as well, isn't there? Like a professional mode. Is that coming in this update?
Yes, yeah, because I think this whole update coincides with the actual launch of the physical edition of Hitman, so it's almost like a greatest hits plus have something extra for you. But I'm really interested in the match of, because the new levels in Sapienza, and Sapienza for me, and I think everyone I've spoken to about the game, is the best level that Hitman has to offer, because it's this gorgeous seaside town that mixes just the right mix of size and detail, so you feel like there's a real world going on, but it's not large enough that you lose track of stuff. And so putting more custom events, more custom scenarios into that, I think is a real strong way to sell this update as well. But I love the idea of what they've been doing with this the new hard mode as well. I'm not quite sure what they're going to call it, but the very fact that the security cameras are going to send guards, the extra toughness of the AI routines and stuff. They're just adding a little more challenge, because after a while, I'm not saying I'm amazing at Hitman. I take a long time. I like being slow and steady. But just this little extra challenge, like the little extra more caution that you're going to have to apply and just change how you used to play levels. I think it's that twist, that little change they're going to put in really makes me want to go back and try some of the older stuff.
Oh, fantastic. Superb. Have you, has that's next on your Boomerang list, isn't it, Daz?
Yeah, yes it is. Yeah, it is. So I should get that shortly when they get the game that I've just sent back, and then I'll get Hitman.
And what was that? What have you been playing this week?
Wow, it's me, is it? Yeah. Well, that is so. Yeah, when they get Yakuza 0 back, then I'll be on Hitman. And
right,
that's a quick return.
Yeah, I completed it. I received Yakuza 0 yesterday morning, and I sent it back today.
Yesterday morning.
You are champion of gamings.
Yeah, I am the king of games, as everybody knows. I completed it with one eye shut in 5 minutes. No, what happened was, you see, Hitman was on my list, and that I was primed and targeted for Hitman because you sold it so well, and I really want to play it, as I said, and I was like, yeah, I want Hitman. And then all of a sudden, I got excited about Yakuza, and it started slow, and it built, and I got really like, I want this game. So I was like, right, I'm adding it to my list. So I added Yakuza 0 to my list. Is that it was Gravity Rush was the reason I reopened the account. So yeah, I added Yakuza 0. I was like, boom, I'm going to play this game. This is awesome. And then I was reading a little bit more about it, and it was dawning on me that this game is not a quick game. And I was thinking, crikey, when I do get this game, I'm not going to be able to rent another game for ages, because I'm going to be on this if I like it, because I've never played another Yakuza game. So it was kind of like, well, I'll take advantage of being able to rent it and see if I like it. Anyway, the first nightmare was that they received my Gravity Rush disc back just before they dispatched all the Yakuza 0 games. So when they said Gravity Rush received, I went onto the website and it said Yakuza 0 all rented out. And I was like, no, I missed it by a day. So I was kind of like, oh no, what am I going to do? And so I was like, I'll just wait. And this was probably about Thursday last week or something like that. I was like, Daz, just be patient. Now, this isn't very easy for me to do, and the excitement and the desire was building to play this game. So at the weekend, I lasted till Saturday, and then I just decided I'd go and buy it. So off I went, and I bought Yakuza 0, which is interesting because there was a lot of reports of stock shortages, and they were getting me a bit anxious as well. So I rang up my local game shop, and they didn't have it in stock, and that just made me want it even more. So I just flew out of the door to the local town centre and got hold of a copy and scurried back, and then I was happy. And I was kind of like, yeah, Demon, I'll cancel the rental, and then I'll get Hitman. But would you believe it? This is unbelievable. In the time it took me to go out and come back with the purchased copy, Boomerang dispatched my rental version. I got back to an email saying, it's been dispatched, and I was like, oh, nightmare, because now it's going to hold up me getting Hitman.
Yes.
It's gutted. So the rental copy arrived, as I say, yesterday. Yeah, that's right. And so I sent it back, but it still means that obviously what I should have been receiving yesterday, stroke today, was Hitman. So anyway, I'm playing Yakuza 0. So have you guys played a Yakuza game before? Because there's a few of them around.
No, never.
No.
I've always looked at them and just thought they are the Japanese version of GTA. Is that ballpark?
maybe-ish, not probably as detailed as GTA, to be honest, from what I've seen. I've only played it for a few hours so far. So what it is an open world, but it's kind of a smaller open world. It's not as vast and sprawling as what we're used to with GTA nowadays. Whether the others are different, I can't comment. But this one, it seems, at least at the moment, to be a smaller map. But that's not to say that it's not dense with stuff to do, because it is. The game takes place in December 1988 in a fictional Tokyo. So that's really cool. Tokyo in the 80s. Everybody's like minted and rich because it's a big boom at the time. And you find yourself and your brother, but mainly yourself, but your brother's there in the game too, who you deal with. But you find yourself involved in the complexities and dangers of a massive power struggle, which seems to have spanned across all of the criminal organisations in Japan. And you find yourself very quickly in the game in a situation where you've been backed into a corner from a setup, you've got no way out, and the only way out, really, is to prove your innocence. And it conveys it really well. It's strange because it's got a kind of a delightful sort of juxtaposition of both a great story that's really moody, and it's so well directed. You're sort of watching the story unfold, and it's really, really well done. It's quite moody. You sort of almost feel like you're watching some kind of 80s thriller like Black Rain or something. But there's also like so much tongue-in-cheek, ironic, cheeky nonsense that you can get up to as well at the same time. It's weird how it sort of balances, but it seems to work okay, because you can sort of follow the story along. And I didn't realise I completed the first chapter without doing anything optional at all, because I didn't actually realise that I could do anything optional. And then on the second chapter, the map's still the same, but all of a sudden I found myself going to like restaurants and different diversions in the town, which I think I could have done straight away if I'd have been a Yakuza aficionado. I'd have known that, but I'm sort of got my feelers out and I'm learning as I go. The world's really bright. It's not at the same graphical level as you might expect from a GTA game, but it does look really good. It's got its own style. The characters look really good. It's very bright and brash. Tokyo's all, as you'd expect, all neon and 80s neon as well. So it's sort of like double neon. It's really cool. So what have I done around the town? You can dine out at restaurants, which is kind of fun. You do that to get health if you've been beaten up. I've been shopping at the convenience store to buy items. There's loads of shops dotted around. Dancing at the nightclub. You pay to get into the nightclub, and you can take part in a dancing mini game like Dance Fever or whatever. It's quite a good game actually, and in that game it sort of splits the view into, you see a checkerboard, and you've got to sort of move your icon along the squares to a certain square where it will then show a button that shows one of the buttons on your controller. So it'll say circle will be at the top right, and to the beat of the music you've sort of got a bit like Crypt of the Necrodancer, I suppose. You go like up, right, up, right, and then you'd hit that button, and then in time with the beat you hit that face button, that square or that triangle. And the more steps you do in between each triangle, circle, each face button, the more points you get. And if you don't fail, you get a multiplier. It's really good. It's quite addictive. And it's hilariously cheesy, the way that the character sort of runs up to the dance floor, jumps in the air, lands on his knees and slides into the middle of the dance floor, and then just claps his hands and just poses. And it's like, wow, I'm here. It's just so funny. It's done with a seriousness. It's so cheesy and serious. It's hilarious. But
you've been doing that around the house, haven't you, recently?
Yeah, it's as if they almost knew my opener at any nightclub and copied it directly from me. There's darts to play at the local bar, which is quite good. You can play pool, and this is, again, another fully fleshed out mini game that seems quite fun. Played a bit of it. It's a fully functional pool game in there for 1 or 2 players. I think you might be able to play online on a number of the games, not just the pool. I'm not sure about every game yet. Darts, I think maybe even dueling, because you can do dance-offs. I also went to a place that it said have a go at batting. I thought, what's batting? And it's essentially sort of like honing your baseball skills. So you've got like a baseball bat, and there's a machine that fires balls at you, and you've got to hit targets.
Like a batting cage.
Like a batting cage, yeah. They're the mini games that I've played. And it seems there's loads more to do. There's karaoke, there's a mahjong parlour, that I'm presuming you play Mahjong in. I don't know whether it's interactive or not, but I haven't visited it yet. There's something called Shogu, which I don't know what that is. And so that's the diversions that you can do at any time. And then there's side quests as well. Wherever you go, people will interrupt you, or you'll see somebody just off in the corner of the road or down an alley. There'll be some kind of ruckus going on. And you can choose whether to intervene or not. So I've taken part in some of these. So here's a little sample of what I've done in side quests. So there's been things from helping a bunch of nice guys keep their rock star image when they don't have a clue how to be rock stars because they're goody-goodies. They've built a fan base that thinks they're sort of like the next like death metal warriors, but actually they're so nice that they don't know what to say. So they've always been quiet. And then you meet them, and for whatever reason, they think you're the man. They say, you look like a geezer, so tell us how to be geezers because our fans are going to kill us if they find out what we're like. So you have to say, no, don't say that you hang around watching TV stroking your pet puppy on your day off. You have to sort of say, I go out with my friends and shoot the breeze or whatever.
Stroke a danger potato.
Yeah, stroke a danger potato. I take my danger potato out with me and stuff like that. To chasing down muggers who rob a poor little kid who's queuing. You see him queuing outside a game shop and he's there. You think, what's this queue? Maybe I'll have a look, find out what's going on, why there's a queue. And there's a little kid right at the back of the queue and he's saved his allowance and he's queuing up for the latest video game of the moment. And he's been assured by the shopkeeper that he'll get the last one. He's got like the last reserved ticket. And it's like, oh, that's nice. I didn't even realise this was a side quest until I went inside the shop and had a look. Because at the time I was looking around all the shops for a certain item. I was trying to buy some sake. And I got that item, or I didn't get the item. I can't remember if that shop had it. But when I came out, the poor kid was crying. And a guy came up to him and stole, a big guy, an adult, came and stole it off this little 10-year-old and ran off with the game. So then that started a side quest of hunting down this guy and getting the video game back for the kid. And that was really cool.
Huh.
And it was quite interesting because when I traced down that guy, just as you get to him, he gets mugged by a bigger guy. It's sort of carried on like that. And that was quite funny. That ended really sweetly. And then even taking the time to persuade a group of high school girls that selling their worn underwear is not the surest or safest career choice.
What?
Yes.
This sounds like a very weird choice. I guess this is a very Japanese-centric game.
That was sort of the pinnacle of the Japanese centricism, I think. Just like this.
It sounds like Shenmue.
This is the adult. It feels like an adult Shenmue, which is kind of what I was hoping it would be. That's what enticed me to pull the trigger on getting it, first the rental and then the purchase of it. It is kind of like an adult Shenmue, and that it feels a bit like that in the combat as well, in which that it's quite simplistic but very satisfying. It's really, really impactful, the combat. There's so many ways that you can interact with the environment. If you move near to an object, it'll dynamically do an action when you hit the triangle. You sort of build up a combo with square, 1, 2, 3. And then with triangle, as long as your what they call the heat meter is high enough, then you'll sort of dynamically interact with something around in the environment that you're fighting in, and it's just so cool the way that it does that.
So is it mainly melee then at that point in time? Is it mainly like a brawler at that?
Yeah, I mean you have different fighting styles, of which one is called brawler. So you do brawl away, but you can also pick things up as well, like bicycles. Depending on the style, if you're using the beast style, you've got a bit more strength, and then you can pick up whole motorbikes and finish people off by basically smashing a motorbike into their face just to keep them down. And you can tell that everybody is minted in this 1988 Tokyo that we're playing in, because as you smash 7 bells out of them, yen notes just keep smashing out of their faces as you do it, and that's how you get money. It's really weird, but I tell you something, it doesn't get old, or it hasn't done yet. It's just hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, it feels good. There's loads to do. And the weird thing is, aside to all that, which is just basically nonsense but really fun, when you're going through the story, the actual gangster storyline, it feels really well directed and just really cool and really slick. So so far it seems to really manage the balance between these two sides of fun and the drama of the story, with the fun of just going around and having a laugh, really well. It's cool. I really like it so far.
Wow, it sounds like a quite a break from, I guess, is it more po-face like Final Fantasy and everything else that you've been looking at so far then?
Yeah, it's refreshing, and I think that's what I wanted. I sort of, at the moment, I'm all about games that are different, that are refreshing, and that for me feel like they're going in a different direction. And yeah, Yakuza, this series has been around for ages, but I've never got involved because I've probably been too busy on the Call of Duties or whatever. So this has been getting a good critical reception. It's a prequel, so I'm not I'm not jumping in trying to work out. It's probably better for people that know the characters. They'll have that's I was going to say backstory, but front story if you like. But it just seemed like a good place to jump in, and I'm really enjoying it. I was the same with Gravity Rush. That's why I went for Gravity Rush, because I felt it was refreshing and different, and that's my focus at the moment. I think I'm really enjoying things that are refreshing and different for me, and this is something that I wouldn't usually get involved with, but I just got a hankering for it, and so far I'm feeling that it was a good choice.
Cool, excellent stuff. And what are you playing it on? Are you playing it on Xbox or PlayStation 4?
It's a PS4 exclusive.
Right.
So I'm playing it on PS4. This is the thing. I went into game, and it's PS4 exclusive. So I just said, "Can I have you? Have you got you?" Actually, it was very nice in game. I walked in, and an attendant who was sort of in Gem Pop at the front, he said, "Oh, can I help you at all?" And I said, "Yeah, okay. I'm looking for Yakuza 0, if you've got it." And he went, "What's it on?" And I was kind of like, that's not good. It's an exclusive.
You're testing his knowledge at this point, aren't you?
He let himself down. If it would have been a multi-platform game, I would have said, "Could I have this on that?"
Yes.
But he thought that. I don't know. He thought it was on other consoles. He got it wrong. He needs to do a bit of research. So that's really good. I also had to go on the For Honor beta. Thank you, Antony, for the code.
You're welcome.
And that's all right.
More beat 'em up.
Yeah, this is more beat 'em up, but more of a strategic style of fighting. I think it's very much that it's kind of taken in the rock paper scissors concept and used that in its fighting style. So you can be one of 3 classes: Viking, Samurai, or Knight, and you just get in a big ruck. When you come across another, there's loads of fodder baddies that you can just sort of hit out of the way that don't count, but then there's certain other warriors equivalent to you, and when you come up to one of those, or a number of those, you then have to think about what you're doing. And the way that you fight is you use your weapon. I think they're very brave here, because they've gone for a completely new control method. And I think it's really good that they've done that, but I want to love it, but because I'm having to learn it, I'm rubbish at it. So it makes me not like it, but it's not liking it because it's no good. It's not liking it because I haven't got used to it yet. And that's a completely different thing. So you can hold your blade either to the left or the right or above, and that will block an attack from left or right and above. And the other guy can do that too. So you've got and you can also attack left, right, and above. And you can also do a throw as well, which will break a guard. So it's basically, I think it could work so well. You could have some great standoffs once you've learned the controls properly, where you just sort of blocking each other, feinting, going in from the side, block, sort of almost like a Matrix battle, but it's not as fast as paced as that. But you know what I mean, where they're just a kung fu battle where they just keep blocking, block, and it could be really enjoyable like that. But I'm nowhere near that. The visuals look really beautiful. So what was I playing that on? Xbox.
Yes.
Looks really nice. I think it must be about 30 frames, because it did sort of judder when I rotated the camera and panned round the beautiful sort of castle vista. But it was only really on panning round that you noticed that. It's perfectly playable. But I haven't really got the full experience of the game yet, because it seems to be mainly a multiplayer game, and the guys that are playing it, he just wiped the floor with me. It was so difficult to be able to see what they were doing to block what they were doing, and then figure out to attack where they're not blocking all at the same time when they were really good at it. It was really difficult to learn that. It did okay against the computer, but we're talking, snail's pace against the computer. And then I could sort of see the potential. So it would take some practice and some work, but I think it's one of those games that when you've mastered that control set, it'd be very rewarding. And that's what it's all about, that game. It looks beautiful, but it comes down, it's a fighting game, and it's all about that combat system. So I think it's going to live or die by people getting used to that combat system.
But for me, it was a bit like Overwatch. You know, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm doing good here. I'm taking out all the AI. I'm badass. You know, I can go online, and then the moment you go online, you just get it handed to you. You know, and it's just. But I did the tutorial twice. I was only playing as the knight because I really enjoyed the knight's attacks. I thought they were quite good. You know, and it's worthwhile pointing out that it was a beta, so you know, if that frame rate and stuff like that could be improved, I guess, as time goes on. But you're right, Darren. You know, the control system, it was different. You know, there was different. You go, okay, you're doing that with that button. Okay, fine. You know, and that's why I did the tutorial twice, because I did it first and played it, and then I kind of came away, and then when I came back, they were like, "Do you want to do the tutorial?" I was like, "Oh, do it again. I enjoyed that, but I'm going to keep being the knight." But there was some really good multiplayer modes as well. There was a similar to kind of capture the flag, wasn't it? Like the air places when you're playing like Battlefield, where you've got to get to an area and stay there and then hold that point, and that was quite. I really enjoyed that bit.
Yeah, and it was quite good. I was holding a point. I'd got a zone, captured a zone, and been rewarded with points. And I was like, "Yes, this is good, man." And I was waiting there, and then all of a sudden, you know, I was blue, and some orange warrior came in, and it was like, I was just like, "Crikey, this is it." And sort of, it's like, "Oh, I'm trying to block. Which way is it going to hit me?" And he, like you say, he handed it to me, good and proper. But that game, you know, it's one that you're not going to be able to just pick up and play. You're going to have to put the hours into maybe not master, but you're going to have to get used to that technique. And I'd say, would you agree, Anthony, that unlike sort of, you know, you could jump into Call of Duty or something, and because we've got sort of a good idea of how those dynamics work, it's not as hard to adapt. I mean, it is hard because everybody's so good online. And you'd think, actually, this would be easier because it's new for everybody, but all the people that have been playing the beta already, you know, it's like with any game, you jump in, there's always everybody's always been playing it for weeks, haven't they? You know, they've been playing it since the beta opened, they've been playing it for a day, non-stop. And it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to keep your head, work out where to block and how to fight. I just forgot every button in the midst of battle. It's just like, what am I trying to do? If I blocked one hit, I was like, yes. But then in my elation, I'd been chopped to pieces by the other side. But yeah,
I think it was the like the RB and like up, down, and left where you change the way you're going to attack. So you change. It has a nice little graphic on the screen, so you can tell if you are going to be attacking from above or from left or right. And I thought that was really good. But same as you, don't. I forgot about how to change that. I forgot how. So I ended up just kind of really just coming in from above a lot of the time. You know, and that was kind of how I was doing it. And getting to the point where I could see another character, and I was crossing a field, and then suddenly about 20 to 30 other just kind of AI just surrounded you, and then taking those out, again it kind of takes you up to that bit where I've got this, I know how to do this, and then the moment you come across that other player, that's when it really does kind of hits home that you're not quite there yet. So it does do that. There is that kind of tease every now and then where you go, yep, I've got this is really cool, I've just taken out all those guys, didn't take a hit, I was blocking, I was moving out of the way, and then you come against another player, and then they just take you out straight away. But it was good fun. I had quite a bit of a bash on it. I think I played it for a couple of hours.
Yeah, me too. And to its credit, I quite like the way that before it lets you play the multiplayer, it puts you against a pretty decent adversary, doesn't it? First, it's like, right, beat this guy, or you know, before you can do it. So it forces you to learn. It forces you to learn the rudimentary techniques, because you've got to beat that guy first. But then you go out there into the wide world, and you're like, oh my goodness me, this is difficult. But I quite like it. It.
And you could also keep going as well, can't you? So if it says, right, okay, we're going to show you how to attack from left, right, and above, and then when you're doing that bit in the tutorial, you take it, he says, okay, right, off you go, take out this guy. And then when you take out the guy, if you don't press and hold B, it just brings another guy in. So if you've got it the first time, you can move on to the next piece of the tutorial. But if you haven't, you can just let another AI boss come in, and then you can then try that again. And I thought that was really good, because in a lot of games, they do just go, okay, take this guy out using that thing we've just taught you, and then you move on to the next section. So actually by doing this until you're ready to move on, I thought was quite an interesting twist on the tutorial.
Yeah, instead of just assuming that you've grasped it, actually letting you make the choice that if you're not quite sure, because sometimes it will move you on and you're kind of like, I don't actually quite understand what I did to progress there.
Yes.
But doing that, you can just do it again and wait till you're absolutely certain and go through. But I must say, I kind of did press through because I was keen to get to the actual game, which I regretted.
I bet you did, because that's like me with wall running in Titanfall. You know, the first time they told us, yep, I've got this, but I just fudged through it, and then I wish I would have spent more time. It's like being at school. I wish I'd spent more time at school learning those fundamentals.
Yeah, it's all about the foundations. In the heat of the moment, I was kind of like, right, so I hold this button down, and then if I hold this button down, then the left stick doesn't move me around. It helps me block. Is that right? And then I'm dead. But it's beautiful. It's very beautiful.
Yes.
So when it comes to the actual game itself, was it like a big open world that you were like progressing through and you just happened to find other people, or was it more like a set capture the flag map, or like territories map that you had to go and battle a single person?
Yeah, a big arena thing. So whichever mode you're in is a big old arena, and there's factions, and you're all fighting, whether it's to capture flags, capture zones, or there's actually just like 2 versus 2 or 4 versus 4 battles as well.
Okay.
So you're in the arena, a little bit like a shooter, an FPS. In there's the map. Get in there, and you've got your legions, your armies, your factions, and depending on the mode you choose, you're all fighting together. All the sort of heroes, there's little mini and NPC warriors that will all sort of travel with you, and it almost made me feel that if I learned the controls and got good, it's kind of like it could feel like a really technical version of Dynasty Warriors, if you like. But Dynasty Warriors is so dumbed down. Saying that is almost like just unforgivable. Almost that I've said that, because the technicality of the combat is just, it's quite. Maybe I'm sounding stupid here, but I found it difficult to grasp. I'm saying about this,
but it's a completely different mindset, isn't it? Because like there's so many things online that are either sports or just shooting games. This is actually trying to break the mold in some respects. I mean, I know we've had like hand-to-hand fighting stuff. You have your Street Fighters, you have your WWE, even have things like was it Xenoblade or something? I can't remember. Not Xenoblade. There was a first-person weird indie fighting fist game a while ago that was Xenoclash. That was it, Xenoclash. And that was just bizarre because you have to make so many concessions and considerations to fighting hand-to-hand online. Because the actual animation process, you actually have to have them hit and counter and parry and stuff. And then if you've got that with the lag conditions, you've got to try and compensate for that. So I find it an incredibly brave, interesting, and if it sounds fun prospect that they're putting on the table here.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's like I wouldn't like to belittle the game and the ambition of it to go out there and try and give something new, because this is a whole new control system. It could be, someone could correct me and say, "Oh, it's actually like this game," but I've never seen it before. And I think that's really brave and really good. And we all want, and I'm all about, as I said, about things that are fresh and new. But I'd hate it that it failed because of that, because people couldn't be bothered to persevere. But judging by the beta, it's full of people, so hopefully not.
And don't forget, For Honor's also going to have a single-player campaign as well, so you can hone your skills while you're playing the single-player campaign to then take it online.
Yeah.
So, and then for me, I kind of see it as a more complex version of Rise. The game that came out with the Xbox 360 as well. It had that kind of feel to it as well.
Yeah, maybe. You could be right there. I love Rise as well. I'm obviously a sucker for one button.
Yes, but I think kind of playing through the single player, as with anything, you don't jump into a multiplayer game until you've really kind of finished the campaign. With the Gears and Destiny and Halo, really kind of just play those games, get used to the controls, and then go online. So maybe For Honor's going to have something similar to that. Yeah,
and I mean with some mates, say if we had it, you can like do 2 versus 2 or 4 versus 4 and things like that. So you can play with your friends, can't you, and get good together. So there's that sort of thing. But yeah, it seems good and strikingly gorgeous graphics. Really look beautiful. down to the detail on the characters, to the sweeping vistas of I don't know if there's different maps, but the one that I ended up playing the most, or the only one, was sort of the medieval castle with the fields.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. It did suffer a little bit, as I say, when you panned round, but it didn't impede the gameplay. But like James makes a good point, with a game that's got combat at its heart, it's almost like you're playing Street Fighter almost, with you're going to be anticipating what they're doing. It's, as well as living and dying by its control system, it's going to live and die by its servers. We've got the rock hard Xbox infrastructure there over on Microsoft land. But it's going to be a lot down to people's connections as well.
Absolutely. So what else have you been playing, sir?
Oh, yeah. So the other game I was playing was... I played a bit more, and this is with my mate coming down and playing a bit of VR. I'd never played this in VR before. I got it ages ago, and it got VR compatibility, and that was probably what I was going to play it in, but I always just ended up... I played it once just with the gamepad and never moved on. And, yeah, that game's Don't Talk and Everybody Explodes. I mean, sorry. I mean, keep talking and nobody explodes. I always
that
get
sounds
that
like me trying to name that game. I could never get that one.
So, yeah, keep talking and nobody explodes. So I said, we were kind of just sitting around and it was raining outside. And we were thinking what to do. And I said, we could try this. This is good. This is a great party game. We'll put this on. And so I put it on. And what do you know? Massive serendipitous moment. There'd been an update on the 26th of January to add HTC Vive motion controller support to the game, which people have been waiting for ages. Yeah, because you used to play it in VR and just use the pad. As I say, I'd never even tried it. And I was like, oh, well, I can't not play it in VR now. And also it means that we can all sit in the same room instead of sitting in separate rooms and shouting through. Because in that game, for people that haven't heard us describe this on the podcast before, and I know we have a few times, one person is defusing a bomb that's in front of them in a room. And the bomb's made up of several sections. Each section is a puzzle that is solved by the other people. So there's one person that does the bomb defusal, and then anything from 1 to however many people you like all gather together in a room or place where they can't see the screen, and they talk that person. They've got their set of instructions, the bomb defusal manual, and they talk the person that's defusing the bomb through the bomb defusal process for each of the puzzles. So they'll say, for instance, what's on the bomb? And the guy says, I can see one section's got 5 wires. And then the people will look in the instruction book and they'll find, wires, right, on the subject of wires. Okay, how many wires is there? 6. Oh, right, okay. Is there any yellow ones, etc.? And as you go through the instructions, if you do the puzzles correctly, you work out which wire to cut, which frequency to set, and all these different puzzles on the bomb. So anyway, we put that on and we played it in VR. So we took it in terms of putting the headset on and holding the motion controls. And it actually made it a bit easier because when you play it with a control pad, you sort of have to navigate through those different sections of the bomb and then press green to go into that section or red to come out of it and move to the next section. And for non-gamey people like Gavin, my mate, and for Claire, who doesn't like doing stuff with a control pad really if she can help it, that can cause problems, and time is of the essence. You've got 5 minutes till the bomb blows up, and you're sort of like in the traffic control tower talking the plane down. It's like critical stuff. With the motion controllers, you don't need to click onto the section of the bomb. You just go onto the bit of the bomb you need and just snip the wire. You just go into the other bit and change the frequency. You can also just pick up the bomb by just reaching forward and pressing the trigger. Pick up the bomb, and move your hand and look all around it. Pop it down. If the alarm clock annoyingly goes off in the middle of everything, you can just sort of hit it without having to sort of red out of the bomb, turn left, highlight the alarm clock. You know what I mean? So it was really good. It was really cool.
So what was the most complex puzzle that you've gotten to?
I tell you what, there's some of them that are a nightmare. You're quite familiar, aren't you, with it? I don't...
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a good run at it, but I almost bought it on PSVR the other day for potential party,
Yeah, it works really well in VR, I tell you, it's awesome, and I'm glad to hear it's out on VR as well, and obviously I'm sure it'll have wand support then as well, because it's the same thing, isn't it, really?
Yep.
Morse code isn't great.
Oh, that's evil.
Because
that's evil.
It's hard to know the gaps between the letters sometimes, and then the waiting for the gap between the end of the word and the beginning of the word. If you missed it, you've got to wait for it to go around and determine it. So that's quite tricky. And there's also the one where there's a big number on like a main screen, and then underneath there's 4 more numbers on buttons. And so you'll say, right, the number's 4. There's 4 buttons below, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the people will look, and it says, like, if there's a 4, press number 2. And then they'll go, press number 2, you press number 2, and then another button appears. Another number appears with a new set of numbers on the 4 buttons. And then the instructions will tell the person that's helping, press the same position as you pressed last go. But when you've done it 5 times, and on the 5th go, it says sort of get them to press the position that was in position 1. It's quite difficult because we don't use a notepad.
Yeah, that was the one that always started getting us as well, because as soon as you start having to make notes, it's like furrowing around and making sure you've got the right information in there. And I'm sure there's other ones as well. There's little phrases of numbers and combinations that you have to keep a track of as it changes. And yeah. It gets complex quick.
But once you get used to one, I mean, because the bar will go because you're so busy working it out. But then after a while, it's like, right, it's the symbols one. And it's like they go to the page really quickly and you're like, da-da-da-da. It's like Morse code, here we go. There's the frequency one as well, where you've got to get the right frequency. Oh, is that and that's, what's that one? I think it gives you I don't know. There's a few puzzles, man.
There's so many, yeah.
Yeah.
But we found eventually, we started playing it in groups, and it was really weird going to a different group, because around this time last year, like pre-Super Bowl, I think we went round to a friend of the show, Manny's, to have a get-together. And while we were waiting for kickoff, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes came out. And Ali and I had been playing it over Christmas with a group of friends, and we had one way of getting through the puzzles. You know, we'd almost like got into the habit of the little, the certain phrases, the keys that you would look for, the keys what you would say. And these guys had a completely different set of codes and tells and phrases, and so it was a real clash to begin with. And almost you just had to step back and go, "Well, you guys have got this down. You have got this pattern down. So just let you get on with it."
Wow, you could almost time you and Ali doing it with your craft honed between you two, and then watch them doing it and see who had the best technique. It's fun. It's funny.
Yeah, it was as much a game trying to blend.
Yeah, and trying to understand their sort of descriptions of, because you sort of start giving each puzzle its own sort of name, don't you?
That's it. Shorthand just to get through quickly.
Yeah. It's like a big screen terminal, or Morse code's pretty self-explanatory. Complex wires. Oh, crikey! You think you're all right with
Venn diagrams of doom?
The Venn diagram one. It's like, I was just looking at that, you know, when you get one of them for the first time because you've gone up a level, and I was just looking at this Venn diagram. I was like, what? What are we supposed to do? It's got a star and a neon light. What does this mean?
We had to sit down afterwards and make sure we all understood what Venn diagrams meant.
Yeah,
like how to interpret them. Because before I started playing this game, I knew. And then the pressure of trying to apply Venn diagrams in stressful situations is a skill I've never was really taught at school.
No. But, you know, if ever the occasion comes for us to have to talk somebody through something like this, then we'll be all right.
We'll step up.
You'll be a dab hand at it.
So, yeah, that too. And, you know, we've talked about that before. This is just a new upgrade to it, really. And, yeah, it works beautifully. Pleasure to play. Pleasure. It's a great party game, I should say. Gets people chatting, gets people laughing, and gets people stressed.
Yeah. I think there's more than one stressful VR game knocking around this week, though, isn't there? Because am I right in saying, Anthony, that you've also been continuing your adventure in Resident Evil with your headset?
I have indeed. Oh, my goodness. And it's continued to just scare the bejeepers out of me. I must admit, I am absolutely loving Resident Evil 7, but I don't know how I could say that, because this is a game where, and it's very easy for me to just grab the VR headset, stick the VR headset on and jump into it, especially now that I've got that, what I was talking about last week, the whole kind of, by playing it on the smaller TV, I've got all of that sorted now, so I just changed the source on my AV unit, and the PlayStation doesn't know it's not throwing out to a TV, so I can play that without even turning that TV on. But Resident Evil 7 has just continued to be just amazing. I've sunk even more time into it. I've now gone on to different levels. I've come across some very scary things, and I'm just absolutely just really enjoying it. This is a game where when you jump into it in VR, I think I was playing it on Saturday afternoon, and I just kind of just stuck on some VR and just started playing it, and instantly you're just like, oh, this house creeps me out. You know, this really does, and it just brings in so much atmosphere straight away. But I'm absolutely absolutely loving it. It's got some. It's really becoming Resident Evil now, because there's lots of puzzles that you need to do. Then to get out of the door, there is a round disc, and it's missing 4 kind of wharf heads or dog heads. It's missing kind of 4. Of course it is. It's a Resident Evil game. There's not just a key. You have to go and find 3. Sorry, not 4. You have to go and find 3 of these things. And there's also a statue where a light is showing on it, and you've got to turn a wooden statue in a certain way to match that, and it opens up. But it's petrifying. It just is so good, and it's just petrifying at the same time. I mean, there's bits where you're crawling or trying to shimmy through just through the walls, so in the gaps in between the rooms and through the walls, and you can see someone walking around, or I was walking outside at the outside of the balcony of the house, and in the garden there was just someone in the garden, and it just it makes you freeze on the spot. And it's just in VR. It's so good. It's really cool. But go on.
It's what I keep hearing. It's like people at work playing. It's like it's just has my nerves on edge. It's like every time I put the helmet on, I just feel repulsed by the surrounding. But it's amazing.
It really is. It's just like I say when and then I got the shotgun the other day, because there's this puzzle that you have to. There's a puzzle that you have to do in order to get a shotgun, and I got a shotgun. And then when these creatures, because when you go down into the basement with where and it was so funny because I picked up this key to the dissection room, and I'm like, I don't want to go there. I really don't. I'm just gonna put the
possibly good could be there.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like, and then I read something. There was a piece of paper which showed me that the last head for the door, for the key for the door, was in the dissection room. I'm like, of course it is. So I've got my shotgun, and the problem is when I'm in VR, I'm shooting anything that moves. You're kind of walking through. You hear a noise. I'm turning around. I'm shooting first before I even turn around, and it gets me kind of that. But there's something quite comforting about holding a shotgun, and you can see the shotgun kind of in front of you, and you can look down and stroke it, and it's just something very nice about seeing that shotgun.
Reassuring.
It is. It's just my little comfort blanket as I go through this house. But I'm there. I got to a point on my playthrough on Saturday. I got to a point where I got to a boss level. And the first time, it is such a horrendous boss level that I had to come out of VR. So Nicola was, she was going to do something else. She was kind of she'd stopped playing Skyrim, so the big TV was available. So I was like, okay, let me try this boss outside of VR. So I kind of took the VR off, and I just quickly turned off the VR box, and my Switch just took it into HDR. So suddenly, Resident Evil is full kind of high frame rate HDR, and it looks stunning, on my TV. It looks stunning. So I was like, right, I'm going to try this boss level where you're very close, you're in a very contained area, and I'm just taking this boss out, and you've got to kind of throw body bags at him to kind of knock him off, and then he's got a chainsaw. And so it was when I was doing that in VR, it was like having a chainsaw kind of coming at you, and when he killed me, which he did a couple of times, that felt it just was horrible. So kind of coming out of VR just to try and it was the only time when I'm like, I'm actually going to give this a go in VR. I know what I need to do, but I can't quite get there. So I just thought I'll try it in non-VR. But by trying it in non-VR, I saw this very gorgeous and amazing looking horrible game kind of unfold. So it's just like Resident Evil 7 just... It's incredible on the PlayStation Pro, seeing this kind of high frame rate and these high res graphics, and then HDR kind of kicks in as well. And the HDR really works with Resident Evil because the blacks are so black. So when I went into a room and it was so dark, it wasn't grey, or it wasn't just a kind of a shade. It was so dark where the HDR really did pop.
So how's actually playing it now on the Pro in HDR outside of the visor, has that affected how you want to play it? Because, I mean, there's the immersive factor of actually holding the helmet right up to your face and being in the scene, terrified to your wits. But then I'm guessing there's just so much more detail. Like, the extra power they can throw at the rendering, at the textures, at the lighting, must surely add something in its own to this atmospheric house.
Oh yeah, it makes the blood look so much nicer. But no, you're absolutely right, because what happened was the level that I was trying to do, when you die, you then start back out in a hallway. So you have to kind of go through this hallway, open a few doors, and by doing that, you suddenly see all this texture on the walls, and how the walls are really they're all wet and dank, and it's all dark, and it was just really, it just looked incredible. And I just stood there for a while and just was looking around at the dissection room, amazed at how amazing it does look, and how you can tell the difference between the VR and the PlayStation Pro. But that being said, once I got past this boss, I wanted to jump back into VR.
So even though you've got that fidelity there without obviously the VR, PSVR, do you think the trade-off of that finesse is worth it for the immersion?
Completely. When I was playing in PS4 Pro, let's call it VR and PS4 Pro, when I was playing on PS4 Pro, I wasn't as scared. I wasn't as scared with Resident Evil. It was just a game that I was playing. When I was in VR, this was just so much more visceral than
a game.
Yeah, it was more than a game. It was scary. Every corner, whenever you're kind of just turning around, and every door open, you're just taking it lightly, and I'm playing completely different. And when I was in PS4 Pro, I was playing a game. And it just really surprised me how the difference was. And if ever there is a game that really should be played in VR, it is Resident Evil 7. And I just hope we get more games like this, because not just the scary factor, but just being able to enjoy being completely immersed and surrounded in that world.
I keep looking at Resident Evil and thinking, because I've obviously been on here and complained about the lack of real games for PSVR, or in fact VR in general. And there's part of me that really hates the first real game is one that I don't want to play, because I don't like horror games or horror films. So someone has said they're going to lend me the disc when they finish playing in about a week or so. So I think I am going to try and dive in and give it a go to try before I buy, effectively.
Did you try the kitchen demo?
Oh, I forgot the demo was... Because it's not called Resident Evil on the store, I completely forgot that it wasn't called that. But it's like listening to you guys last week and listening to other reviews and podcasts and previews, it's that giant mix between saying like just how immersive and how the VR makes the experience, but then the fact that everyone is so terrified, they're recommending it because of it. That's not what I want at all. I'm fighting two conflicting feelings here.
I've got to wait a year for it because it's exclusive to PSVR, but I don't know whether I'll have the courage, because I get very immersed anyway in normal games.
Yep.
And I will be jumping out of my skin. I know I will. Sort of every corner. I'll be so, frozen up and so tentative. It'll be ridiculous. But I'm wondering, like you're saying there, it's the fear that really brings that immersion in, brings the terror in.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I'm wondering, can that be done with anything that's not a horror game? Like, maybe we've found a bit of a VR niche here, a AAA that really works on VR. Fantastic. But without the fear, could there be the same trepidation without that sort of horror aspect? I don't know whether there could be.
I know what you mean, because there's things like when I've been playing Battlezone, I just haven't felt engaged in the world, like engaged in what's going on around me, and therefore I don't feel I have been drawn truly into the wonder of VR with that. I think Battlezone's it's an okay game. It's it's good, it's solid, but it just doesn't tick the box of something I want to spend hours in. But then you flip to something like Drive Club, which I actually got really into, and I thought the VR added something there, because there was that real focus of when you're herring down a straight and see a corner, you can really use the VR to look into the corner and help you steer in a way that the fixed view of non-VR driving games don't give you. So I think it is that hook, that the fact you are really just reacting to what's in front of you. So I'm not saying Drive Club is as immersive as Resident Evil, but they still hook into that, going, something's happening instantly, you've got to just react to it, otherwise things are going off, you're either going to be scared or you're going to drive into a wall. So I wonder if it's these ones that just allow you to act reactive rather than just take it.
Because I think if Arkham VR had the same control system as Resident Evil 7, it's just as immersive. In Arkham, when you actually kind of open, the game opens and you are kind of just, and again, that you're right, James, you're just in kind of almost here's a set piece, you need to look around it. But with Arkham VR, you just jump to certain places. So there's certain places that you can jump to. So as you're walking down a sewer, you're not so much walking down a sewer, you're just almost just kind of just jumping to certain parts of the sewer. But if they added the Resident Evil control system that has not made me feel queasy at all, which is you're walking around, left and right, you can run by pressing down on your left joypad, and then your right stick is that 30-degree turn. And if they would have added that to Arkham, it would make Arkham VR just an amazing experience. And I would want to play an entire game like that, because I think that was one of the first things I played in VR, and it was incredible. It made me feel like I was a 3-foot child, and there was this man in front of me, and the immersion I got from that was absolutely incredible. And that wasn't as scary as Resident Evil. That was more kind of, this is incredible, and I just think that, or a game like that, would work just as well. But Resident, I mean, when you start playing Resident Evil, even right as I was saying last week, even right at the start, when you're walking up this overgrown path on the way to this house, this very scary looking house, even that, you just look, I don't want to go in there. I don't really like my girlfriend that much. Mia's not that nice. I can find another one. I'm going, because you don't want to go there. And that's kind of one of the draws of this game. And there was a part of the game that I was playing on Saturday, and I think I'm kind of 2/3 of the way through now. There was a part of the game that I was playing on Saturday where it switches, you keep putting these videos in and it switches to like a different time, and I was playing and the Ma Baker was chasing me and was trying to track me down, and it meant that you actually had to hide and let her pass certain areas. And my heart was racing. I was crouched down behind this box and I could see her torch and I did not want to move. And then you hear her go through a door and you think, right, now's my time to run. And then you kind of get up and then you run round and then you have to do that again. And this is what you have to keep doing. And it was just so incredible. That was just to play this and be in that. And I don't know if all of that would have been as exciting, as scary, if you were playing it on non-VR.
No, I don't think it would have. It's such a pity. It does seem to have found, with this fusion of a slow-paced game with really well-done horror, that it's knocked it out of the park. And I'm a bit like with James here, because it's fantastic that it's found this niche, but it's not the niche for me. It's such a pity.
Yeah. Absolutely, and if you are sensitive, I mean, it's scaring me, and it's really funny because after the first time I played it and the second and third time I played it, I've always worried that I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to have night terrors or something, because you are, I mean, the best thing about it is I'm playing this I'm in this horrible world, and then the moment I take off or push forward my PlayStation visor, I'm back in my movie room, and that is the nicest thing about it. It's just like you are kind of you're back in the real world, and that kind of makes you forget about that world you're in, because when you're looking around and you're in VR and you're looking behind you and looking to the side, you are completely surrounded by this world. But I think when you come out, and because it is just so nice being outside of that, I think that's when it kind of, that experience just disappears, and it hasn't kind of crept into my nightmare or anything like that, but it's just a fun game, and it's one that I'm just really enjoying it. So yes, I wholeheartedly, if your heart rate can handle it, I wholeheartedly recommend it. But like I say, James, it might be good for you just to hire or borrow it, just so you can kind of maybe just get a feel for it.
And then take it back and change my underwear.
Yeah. And you'd be like, no. I think if you could play up to the point where you get the first VHS and then you play through that's a really good feel for kind of how that game is going to play out. And then you could, at that point, you kind of got a good feel for it, and you could just leave it at that point. So there's kind of have a and report back if you
Give it
do.
a dabble,
Yeah, indeed. So that's how I've been playing Resident Evil, loving that. Hopefully I will finish that. Maybe not this weekend because I'm away this weekend, but I'm hoping to try and get this finished ASAP. But it's just fantastic. But I've also this week I've also been playing Return to Arkham. So I've been playing the Return to Arkham. Thanks to our friends at Boomerang, I found something out about Boomerang games which I didn't realise that the was a thing, but with Boomerang Games, every time you renew your subscription, you get some points, so you get some Boomerang points, and then when you get to a certain amount of points, you can actually redeem them for a bonus game. So on Boomerang, I'm only there for like one game at a time, but you can get a bonus game. So I'd amassed, I think, something like 700 points, and for 400 points I could choose one of the bonus games. So I chose Return to Arkham Collection, so that meant I've got 2 games at the moment from Boomerang. So I just got Return to Arkham. So when I haven't been playing Resident Evil, I've been playing Arkham Asylum. So Arkham Asylum on Xbox One, and also Arkham City as well. So I've actually got them loaded up onto both Xboxes. So if Nicola comes in and says she wants to play Skyrim, I go and play Arkham City on the smaller TV. If I've got up early or late and she's gone to bed, I play Arkham Asylum on the bigger TV. So if you,
God bless the cloud saying.
Exactly. So if you look at kind of what I'm playing, you know what TV I'm on now. So whether I'm on Arkham City, smaller TV, Arkham Asylum on the larger TV, and it looks really good. And it looks, this is all kind of up-resed and remastered of the Xbox 360 classics, and they look really good. They look really, they're holding up, and I'm really enjoying the gameplay as well. So that's kind of very cool. I mean, like I said, I've only got, I think I've unlocked a couple of achievements of both those, but they are just the kind of the Arkham games. But it made me realise kind of how much of a departure Arkham Knight is from Arkham Asylum, and I'm not sure which one's better at the moment, but it's such a departure, where Arkham Asylum is very tight. It's a very kind of a tight game, where obviously Arkham Knight is going to have a whole open world to explore.
It was almost like as it evolved, you almost think they couldn't go back, because Arkham City was the only one I played of that series.
Me too.
I think a lot of people told me that Arkham Asylum was probably better because, as you say, it was a tighter,
yes.
I guess more focused, more designed areas that you could go.
Absolutely.
Whereas as soon as you get out to the city, there's been a few games I think they've done it, they almost have that growing pain of how do we fill this slot, and it seems to be mostly with Joker puzzles.
Yes.
Here, have several hundred of these. So yeah, there was almost like the quantity-quality balance that I hear a lot of people talk about with those pair.
No, absolutely, spot on, and it really is. It's kind of, but it's just really nice to have that, to have those. I mean, one of my favourite things always with any kind of Arkham game is you go into a room, and then I go up to the gargoyles, go up to the kind of top, and then just take someone out slowly but surely, just kind of take them out, and just take out the group of guys, and I love that, and there was less of that, I think, in Arkham City, and kind of more of that kind of in Arkham Asylum. So it was absolutely fantastic. And then the last game that I just started playing, last night, was Uncanny Valley. So Uncanny Valley. So we got a couple of codes from Cowardly Creations, sent us over a couple of codes, which was fantastic. And I got started playing Uncanny Valley, which is I guess you could easily kind of call it a bit of a survival horror, a bit of puzzle solving, a bit of exploration game in a very very stylized game. So I started playing that. Can't talk too much about it because I think we can talk and say that we've been playing it, but the review embargo is not up until the 7th of February, so I'll probably talk about it a little bit more on next week's pod. But so far, I'm liking it. And that's about it from what we've been playing. So let's start the news section. And in this week's news section, the Sparks assemble with the latest news from Marvel. Resi 7 is a success. I think we've kind of already got that. And Phil Spencer has a strange announcement about the Scorpio. But Darren, the first piece of news, sir, is with you.
It is, thank you. And I know last week I talked a little bit about how we should all, temper our expectations about things, be careful about letting our imaginations run away with ourselves when thinking about something new that's coming. So I thought we'd just quickly mention that Game of the Year, Game of the Century, goodness, what an amazing game. Horizon Zero Dawn has gone gold. Way!
Hurrah.
There you go. So they announced it, Guerrilla Games put it on Twitter. I think it was today, actually, at time of recording. And they said, hooray, Horizon Zero Dawn has gone gold. So proud of the team at Guerrilla for embracing this bold new adventure with so much courage and resilience. So yeah, it's gold now, which is fantastic. No, that means it won't be delayed, doesn't it? Maybe.
Yes.
Which is good, because it would be running. It's too close to the Switch already at this point. Anthony and I have got 2 days before the Switch hits.
I've taken the 1st of March off. I have the 1st of March off, officially off of work, so I can play Horizon Zero Dawn.
This is the thing.
Yeah, because this comes out on the 1st.
It does.
Switch comes out on the 3rd.
Yeah, to make a bit of time.
Got to get some gaming in.
The things I thought this would be sort of, I don't know, say 10, 12-hour campaign and then done. Now, some previews dropped today. An embargo lifted on a preview session that a lot of guys had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with it. It's sounding quite open-worldy. Now, I read a little bit and then I stopped myself because I straight away read something I didn't want to read. And I was annoyed that they'd left that in there. I was really annoyed that they'd said this. They described a little bit of the beginning and what happens in just a little bit too much detail. They could have just left it out. I'm obviously not going to talk about it here. But if you want it to be a surprise, just leave the previews, because I wanted this to be a surprise, and I'm off it now. I've gone dark. But it did sound like they were sort of citing that it was an open world type game, and I was thinking, oh, right, because I was expecting to enjoy it. Like Uncharted, I love that sort of game. But you get it, and you have that roller coaster through it, and then for me it's done. But I was starting to think, maybe Horizon Zero Dawn is more than that. I'm not sure. What are your guys' conceptions of it?
Well, I've honestly been staying dark on it because I have been really taken in by what I've seen so far. Yeah. Anyone who knows me, robots, dinosaurs, I'm instantly on board with, and I think the fact that you could probably try and I'm hoping that a lot of it is stalking, like trying to hunt them down and take them down, and use the parts within them to either tame other dinosaurs or go and find more. I mean, I tried to play Ark and it just didn't click with me because it was this just relentless survival game where every time you made progress you effectively died and had to start from scratch. So I'm hoping for me that Horizon Zero Dawn fills that void where I can wander in a world of huge monsters, of creatures that I can either use alive or use dead. But it's the mystery of me, the wonder of a post-apocalyptic world as well, right? Where mankind has fallen and started rebuilding itself. Like there's just so many things that tick boxes with me that I love the fact that I don't know anything else about it. There's people probably shouting the podcast going, but that's not even part of it. You're just getting so wrong about it. But I just want to discover this world.
Yeah, I'm the same. And this is the open world bit I'm happy with. The other bit I'm not so happy with finding out. But apart from that, I'm the same as you. But like finding out that I had one idea that this was just going to be a sort of A to B story, that you go through, and I might be wrong about this, but getting the feeling that it could be so much more to it in an open world, as long as you just covered it really, as long as it isn't too vacuous in content, then it's good. It's good news. And even if it's got the story there, but the world to roam around in, if you choose, even if it is a little bit bare or whatever, or just scattered with, I don't know, towers to climb and haystacks to fall into, etc., following that tried and very, very, very tested model that we've got used to over the time. At least it's there to sort of explore and enjoy. So I think it's kind of great. Would you like some facts about Horizon Zero Dawn that I've dug up?
Yes.
Are these
yes.
spoilery facts? I'm worried about where these facts are going.
Yes.
Oh no! It's all just about. I was interested in the development of it. I wanted to find out some information about the development of it because it's gone gold, and I wanted to. I couldn't actually find out how big the team was. I wanted to find out how big the team was, how long it took, things like that. I couldn't find out a definite number for the team, but basically, it's been in development since 2011. They started development on it after the release of Killzone 3. And after Killzone 3, they were looking for a new game over at Guerrilla Games, and they pitched 40 different concepts. Horizon Zero Dawn was one of them. The game director, whose name is Mathis de Jonge, I hope I've got that correct. He thought that was the most risky of the 40 concepts, but that's the one they went with. When they started off, a team of 10 to 20 started building prototypes of the game, and many of the elements featured in these early prototypes have remained in the game throughout the whole development, which is quite rare, I think, really, for it not to get changed that much. There was approximately 20 different stories written for the game. Whether those different stories will be in it as side quests, I don't know, but 20 different stories were written. It could mean that 20 different, whole sort of screenplays were written for the game, I'm not sure. But when Killzone Shadowfall was released or completed, which was in late 2013, the remainder of the team that was working on that also jumped in on Horizon Zero Dawn, and then they also cancelled work on another title to allow the entire team to just focus and drill down in on Horizon Zero Dawn. So it started off, as quite a small team, and it's just evolved and grown, hasn't it, until the entire developer has been hankered down working away on this. And as we are so excited by it, you can tell that's paid off just by our anticipation, can't you?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like I say, I've got the day off, so I'm going to download it digitally. I'm going to buy it digitally, so it downloads the night before, because I think they kind of 2 days before on the PlayStation Network, and then it will just be there waiting for me to wake up in the morning and to start playing in my PJs. I'm just like, and I guess in the other news that they announced as well, that with it also going gold, they also announced that Ashley Birch is going to be voicing the main protagonist. Is it Aloy? So she's Ashley Birch is going to be the voice talent behind the main character of Horizon Zero Dawn. And those who are kind of thinking, who's Ashley Birch?
Like me.
She was Chloe Price in the Fantastic Life is Strange.
Oh, wow.
And many more video games. She's
basically she's the female Nolan North.
She is indeed. There's one other person that's the female Troy Baker. But yeah, though, Ashley Burch
I want Max Caulfield. I want Max Caulfield's voice actress to do it. I'm not happy now.
So she was also in For You, Darren. I guess she was also in the Minecraft game. She played Cassie Rose in the Minecraft game as well.
Well, hey, thank you.
There you go. I thought I'd just throw that. And one other thing while we're talking about going gold, Ukulele has also gone gold today as well.
Oh yeah.
So April 11th, I believe. I'm waiting for my backers survey to unlock, so I can change my platform to Switch. So I can switch my platform to Switch.
That's quite a long lead time as well. If we talk about Horizon Zero Dawn going gold for the start of March, end of February, Ukulele doing it for mid-late April, that's an impressive time to lock it down.
It really is. I wonder if that's got something to do with the Switch and what they need to do with the certification over there at Nintendo. Maybe.
Question marks hanging.
Question mark. And so James, next piece of news is with you.
Yeah, back to Resident Evil with this one, because Resident Evil's website have been revealing some stats about just how well it's been doing. GameTrack already told us that it was the best seller last week and the third best for any of the Resident Evil series. But the actual website itself shows there's about 1 million users registered. I mean, these are users who have allowed their data to be sent to the servers. So who knows what percentage of the game-playing Resident Evil population that is. But it shows they've pretty much sold 1 million copies. But the biggest interesting section of that site for me is the fact they also show you how many VR users they've got. So out of about 1 million registered players, about 93,000 are VR users. So, about 9.5% have actually hooked up their HUD. Sorry, what's it? HMD? HMD, I always forget that one, sorry. HMD, and played Resident Evil and scared the bejesus out of themselves.
Wow.
Which, considering the 1 million is all three platforms of Xbox, PC and PlayStation, that's an incredibly large number. We're talking then at least, maybe extrapolating out, 30% possibly on the PlayStation if it's an even split.
Wow.
So that's, I don't know whether it's like you and I were saying earlier, Darren, have people been drawn to it because it's VR? and that's helped the sales, and so then the attach rate for PSVR could be higher just purely because of that. But either way, that's a fantastic attach rate.
Yeah, and it's such a great recovery after the past few Resident Evil games as well, to see that it's not only sort of found its home again, but also found this attachment to VR. And I think it's a game that, let's just forget about age restrictions for a minute, but say everybody that had a VR was over 18 or whatever. It's the kind of game that everyone who's got if you bought a PSVR, this is probably the best game you can get, isn't it? So
yes,
most people, apart from scaredy cats like me and you, James, would get it. Would get it, and there you go. It's almost like that. This would be the bundle, isn't it, that they would sell at Christmas? If it's probably a bit old, because it's come up now, it wouldn't happen, but that would be the bundle, wouldn't it? If they were going to bundle,
this would be the one everyone got pointed towards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you just need an equivalent that's less scary.
Yeah. So I know we covered this a lot earlier, so I just wanted to pull it out. So yeah, Resident Evil doing very well on PSVR.
Yeah, and they've got the stats to prove it. It's better than just our conjecture, isn't it? It's actually, you've got that solid evidence now. Yeah, it's really interesting.
But you're right. If you grab Resident Evil 7 and you have VR there, if you have it, you would be fooled not to kind of just to jump in and try that, even if the non-VR game is scaring you. You just need to kind of just play it and just see what it's like, because even just kind of 5 minutes is just kind of just a wonder, and it is exactly, as you guys said, it's exactly what that PSVR is exactly for. It's plugged to a PlayStation, it's for games, and this is the kind of game that you always get on a PlayStation. So awesome, I'm going to play some more this evening, I think. So just before I go to bed, that's the right thing to do. So next piece of news is with me, and that is that last week we had a bit of a tease from Marvel. So we had a bit of a tease from Marvel on Twitter saying tune in at 3 p.m. on the 26th for some updates. There's an announcement. So a lot of people were speculating maybe this would be a new Thor trailer. So we've got Thor Ragnarok is the next kind of Marvel movie, and we haven't seen any kind of trailers or any screenshots from that yet. So a lot of people were kind of thinking it might have been that, it might be something to do with Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, it turns out that it was a Square Enix and Marvel announcement. So both Square and Marvel at the same time announced that they are going to be working together on Marvel properties, and the first game that they're going to be working on is an Avengers game. So they tweeted out a link to the announcement trailer for this Project Avengers game, which had a kind of a tagline of reassemble. It showed a lot of kind of broken shields and glasses, and I'll put a link to the trailer because it's a very nice looking, very stylized trailer. But it kind of reminded me of a point in the Age of Ultron, the Avengers Age of Ultron, where Tony Stark kind of has this dream, and Scarlet Witch kind of gets into his head, where you can see all of the Avengers kind of are laying broken on this rock in space, and it kind of had the same kind of feel of that, and as I was saying, with a tagline of reassemble. So this looks like it could be a very interesting thing indeed. So they did put out a press release, and they said that so this was from Square Enix, and they said that the Avengers project is being designed for gamers worldwide, and will be packed with all the characters, environments, and iconic moments of the thrilled long-time franchise. So, and they also went on saying that featuring a completely original story, it will introduce a universe that gamers can play in for years to come. Think Destiny. More details on the Avengers project and other games will be announced in 2018. So that was kind of... So what do you think, guys? Does this mean that we've got the return of superhero games into the AAA franchise?
We can hope for that.
I hope so.
We can hope for that.
Yeah.
I mean, the AAA bit is... They've always had a difficulty getting superhero games to work that well. But,
yes,
they've got some good people there. And
yes,
Disney QA seem to be pretty on the pulse, don't they, at the moment? So... I just hope this partnership works. I also read that because the Spider-Man game that's been touted on PS4,
yes,
with all the PS4 Pro jiggery pokery that's going to make it amazing. It said that was actually in a separate universe,
And it is. I mean, even in the cinematic universe, I know Spider-Man has just come into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Spider-Man is owned by Fox, so it's kind of almost in the same universe as Deadpool and X-Men and X-Men. You know, so it's kind of over there, which is it's such a shame because we're so close. You know, there has been stats where they're saying that the next Avengers movie, which comes out at Christmas this year, which is Infinity War, they said that there's going to be something like 64 characters on screen at one time. So you can expect there's going to be a big battle and there's going to be 64 characters. And I'm just like, for me, look, if reading comic books like Civil War, reading these big Infinity War, reading all of these big kind of titles, you've seen that. You know, you've opened up the middle pages of a comic book and those scenes have been there and they've blown your mind. You know, so to actually see it on screen, it's going to be something of beauty.
So what sort of game would you hope it would be? Would you go for first-person perspective, shooty type game, roguelike, or would you go for perhaps the more tempting choice of a sort of story-based third-person, like what they're doing with the Star Wars game?
Well, it's quite interesting that you say that because there was another news report that went up today, which was basically saying that Deus Ex, the Square Enix Montreal, I think it's Eidos Montreal behind Deus Ex, they're actually kind of putting Deus Ex on hiatus, and they're working on other Marvel properties, and one of them could be a Guardians of the Galaxy game. It's very much kind of rumour, so they could be making, so the team that's behind Lara Croft and behind the Tomb Raider games could also be making a Guardians of the Galaxy game. Now that, I think, would be fantastic as a third-person adventure game that switches between all of the different characters. So, you know, if you imagine you have Groot and Rocket as kind of one kind of pairing, and then you have Star-Lord and the others kind of, and I just think that would be fantastic. That would be such a great game with different scenes playing out with the different characters and then kind of maybe all coming together at the end.
That would be cool. So what would you have Avengers as then? Same sort of thing, or do you think it could fit something different?
I would.
I hope it's different, just for the variety, because I don't want them to get into the same sort of thing as
Telltale,
the Lego Marvel game. I was going to say Lego or Telltale.
It's TT.
Yeah,
it's TT syndrome, isn't it? If you TT, it's like you'll find something that works and you don't change it.
Yeah, I mean, it will be the easiest thing to do, because if they can develop an engine and share the sort of similar properties, that'd be amazing. But I hope they have that, so at least inject it with some personality to it all, because fair enough, they're both ensemble games, and that could lead to some interesting, almost like Metroidvania type thing, where you can swap between characters and different characters can get you into different places or so. But yeah, I just want to make sure that the game is as good as everything else, because Square Enix have been putting out some good stuff with Deus Ex and Tomb Raider. Like their actual action games in recent times have been really good. So let's hope that the franchise doesn't hold back what ambitions they've been developing.
I mean, when I first read the original press release, when they said that they're kind of creating a universe that can be played in for years, the thing that came to my mind straight away was something like DC Universe Online, but in a Marvel kind of, and that didn't interest me. I mean, I'm a ginormous DC fan. I'm just ginormous, but I'm a ginormous DC fan, and I would, and on paper, DC Universe, it just should be the game I'm playing all the time. But I've tried it, and it's free to play on Xbox One right now, and I've tried to play it, and I just cannot get into it. So I hope, it's exactly what James said, I hope it's just something different, but maybe not something like that. Not a. I mean, I used to play the Ultimate Marvel games; they were really good, but they get kind of old quite quickly, and unlocking new characters was just the great thing about that. But I just want to be able to enjoy that Avengers world.
Yeah, because there's so many characters there, it'd be kind of nice. It just occurred to me where you were saying that if they sort of did a Hitman on it and split it up into episodes, and each episode was a different one of the Avengers, and then it all came together at the end, that'd be pretty cool.
absolutely. I mean, just like the films. I mean, look at the films that we had before we had the Avengers. You know, we had Iron Man, then we had Incredible Hulk, and then we had another Iron Man. Then there was Thor, and you had 4 films before you got to the Avengers Assemble. So something like that would actually be really good. You know, an episodic game where, and this is the kind of for playing for years to come, where you do just kind of have, okay, here's part 1 of the Avengers, you know, and you get to build that story where they were saying, again, it's a completely original story. So you get to start building those characters, and you do play an entire game as Tony Stark, and then you get to progress through, and then the Avengers do assemble.
Yeah, I suppose the challenge is going to be for them, and it'd be something that, you know, I'd be wanting to sit down and chat to you about, probably, if we were there in the boardroom, is the importance of making every hero fun to play. Not just having Iron Man as the one everyone wants to be, and other ones as a dud that no one's interested in. So obviously there's more interesting heroes, but you want to look at the heroes that are maybe a little less interesting, but make them just as much fun in a game. You know, if they decide, they might not decide to have it like that. You play different ones, though. Who knows?
Yeah. But look at the differences that they can do, because just looking at the films, you know, you can, if you were Doctor Strange, then suddenly the game could take a very supernatural twist, and then your world can be completely different. You know, Thor is in Asgard, so again, the look of the game is completely different. And then you've got the Hulk, where the character model would be, and the way that you move, and there's been a couple of good Hulk games as well on the Xbox 360, so you could do that. You know, get me on the board of this. I could just sit there and talk to Square for just days.
I'm getting flashbacks to work. I'm getting flashbacks to designers who don't know when to stop. Just no.
Sorry, Joe.
You need reining in. No, there's so much work involved here. No.
You can imagine me day one coming in with a big stack of comic books going, right, everybody needs to read these.
I want this. Yes.
Let's start at number 1.
Yes. We want you to be able to bend the world like Doctor Strange, but then smash the entire thing like the Incredible Hulk.
Shut up! Someone put a gag on him. It was quite funny, actually. Although kind of a side note, but still on comic books. I was organising my comic books in storage the other day, and I've taken them from big boxes, and I'm making sure that every single one is bagged and board, and in a right box. I have a Batman box, a Superman box, and these long comic books, so I can store them at home. And I just sat there in my storage unit. I was just sat there on the floor, and I just started reading comic books, and I was getting messages from Nicola going, "Are you bagging and boarding those comics?" I'm like, "Yes, of course I am," and I'm just sitting there reading issue of comic.
I'm just going to check each page isn't creased before I put it in
just
there.
Just want to check the quality of this one, and I was just really enjoying it. And some of those were just fantastic kind of Marvel stories as well. So there is just so much that they can draw from, and whether they choose to do the likeness of the movies or whether they choose to just kind of have their own art style, it would just be very interesting. But that means that we could have, in the next couple of years, we could have 2, not 1, but 2 Guardians of the Galaxy games, because obviously TT are also making a very TT kind of Guardians of the Galaxy game as well, aren't they? Yes, they are. So that's yes.
I would assume so. Are TT making a branded game? Yes, they are.
It's a Guardians of the Galaxy game, and we're all excited about it. Shut up. So anyway, Darren, the next piece of news, sir, is with you.
Yeah, this piece of news seems to be sending the internet crazy, because Phil Spencer has tweeted something, which it seems to... He says something and everybody's like, oh, wow.
Stop the press. Phil tweeted.
Yeah, Phil's tweeted. So obviously he was listening to our podcast last week, and he decided to give us a little bit of advice. And so the controversy comes from Phil tweeting, in reply to somebody that was getting excited about the Scorpio. Phil's advice was, wait until we show you the games before you pre-order. There you go. That's what Phil says. So this story with it really is that this seems to be less enthusiastic than he was at launch. And he's sort of saying, I think it's common sense really. He's just saying, look, temper your expectation. Don't go pre-ordering. Just wait and see what it's like before you put your cash down, and maybe then... Well, he's not saying this bit, but I'm hypothesizing.
You're paraphrasing.
I'm paraphrasing. Because then, you'll be less disappointed if it isn't all you've imagined it to be. So yeah, it seems like there's been a few quotes bandied around the internet over the last week since we mentioned what Eurogamer found out about that white paper that admittedly was a year old. And the main the main feel behind it really is exactly that. Really, what we said is about tempering expectation. It's not been so much talk about premium pricing, not been so much talk about native 4K, more sounding really like a PS4 Pro. So yeah, and I think it's fair enough for him to say that. It's an honest point of view, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite interesting reading some of the comments that were kind of attached to the podcast on one of the sites that we post on, where a lot of people were kind of saying exactly the same thing. You know, it is about kind of just tempering expectations, waiting for E3, wait for Xbox to actually kind of come out and explain exactly what this is, rather than the wild speculation. But the white paper didn't help, but kind of make a lot of people kind of question. I know that white paper shouldn't have been leaked, so it shouldn't have been for the general populace to get worried about it, but like I say, all those comments that we had against the podcast last week, like agreeing with what we were saying about kind of just a tempering expectation and just kind of just waiting. But it was very interesting how friend of the show Manny, his second mention, friend of the show Manny, was saying that it could potentially be the power of a 1080i. I want to say
980 Ti, yeah,
980 Ti. So which in itself is quite impressive, isn't it?
That's really impressive for the price. Say it's 400 to 500 quid. You know, 980 Ti was about 400 quid when I bought it. So to get that kind of graphical power and everything else that you're going to get in a console is amazing. It's really good. I'm not going to argue with that. But a 980 Ti can't push 4K at 60 frames per second, which is what they said the target was when they unveiled the Scorpio. So there's been a little bit of just calming that messaging down, it seems, as we're getting closer to seeing what it actually is. And you never know. That white paper, as we say, it was old, wasn't supposed to be seen by the public. Listen to me, I just can't help getting my expectation up. I'm about to say, maybe it will. Maybe they'll amaze us. But
I mean, it sounds like you're not going to heed Phil's advice at all. As soon as this goes out to pre-order, I'm guessing at least one of you is going to.
I've sort of been waiting for Scorpio, but because of that original messaging. So this makes me want to follow, it makes me follow Phil's advice. I'm not going to do anything until I've seen, what I'm getting. Same, so yeah. We'll see. And I presume E3 will be the big announcement. And after that, I'll make my decision. But before these revelations, I was sort of thinking that this was going to be. And it was ridiculous to think it was going to be like the second coming of consoles in the next generation, because it's going to be backwards compatible anyway, which is going to hold it back. But I was all on board for it. I was thinking, 4K, native 4K, I'm there. So I was all determined to get it, sort of thing. But I will just wait and see. I'm not just going to throw my money down for no reason.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I mean, for me, I just want to see what it is. I'm interested, excited. As I was saying last week, and we're playing Forza one night last week, and Manny's there playing it on his PC and playing it in 4K, and I was just like, I bet that just looks incredible. Even though I'm sitting there with HDR burning my eyes, I was just like, I bet it looks amazing and it looks incredible, and that's. And again, I've always wondered why I'm not a PC gamer, because I do love that kind of. I love to be kind of running in that ultra mode, and I'm hoping that Scorpio kind of gives me kind of a step closer to that, and gives me something that's there. And whether this is going to be a brand new Xbox, or it's going to be just an Xbox Pro or an Xbox One S Pro, as we were saying, it'd be interesting to see. But I'm sure. After all of this that's kind of happened, and Phil is a clever man, and he does watch and listen to a lot of people, so I'm sure they're going.
I thought you were going to say Spy Phil. Yep.
Oh yeah, no,
we're there for you.
He's always listening to this, but no, you do if you read his tweets and listen to him in interviews, he does listen to a lot of podcasts, and you're right. It was quite interesting to see that there were a couple of other podcasts that I listened to that came out over the weekend that were saying the same thing that we were saying. So it was very interesting. So and again, a lot of the furore that kind of came out and that was on Twitter about all of this. So it'd be quite interesting to see they're going to be on message, and I think Microsoft have been very good about messaging. So with especially with the Xbox One S, they were spot on with that messaging for that. So I'm just hoping that Scorpio will follow suit.
Yeah, I think there's no question that this is going to be edging to, obviously it's going to give us a boost. It's going to give us some better experiences, and hopefully in ways that will surprise us. Maybe they're going to announce some stuff that we haven't thought of, and that'll be fantastic as well. But thinking about it, they've got to hold something back, or what they're going to roll out for the next generation. If we indeed have another generation, they can't put all the eggs in the baskets of these iterative upgrades, can they? Because there'd be nothing left to dazzle us with Gen 2 or next gen.
But what I don't know what the next gen is, because
if there is indeed going to be one.
Yeah, because I think the way that things are going, and I think we've discussed this before, is the sense that I think we all believe like the iPad, the iPhone sort of generational leap is almost makes this null and void now. There will be iterative consoles from this point forward. It's just a matter of time before I think we lose the 1 and the 4 from the designations. So is there going to be something that's huge and big and banging, or is it going to be like the iPhone presentations where effectively features are more in the OS and you just get every now and again things like the haptic feedback on the touch or just little incremental stuff?
Slow and steady.
Because what is even if there was something was holding back, I don't know what that would be, because we've got VR, we've got HDR, we've got 4K. It's far too. Don't even say 8K yet, Anthony. But there's nothing. There's nothing left.
Anthony's just fired up his pre-order.
Left at the moment.
No. I will pre-order this. If it gives me something that's new, more and shiny, I will absolutely pre-order it. I mean, and I totally agree with you, with you, James. It is that we are getting into these little increments. And it may mean, Darren, that you have to skip you have to wait a couple of generations. So you do the same thing with your iPhone to iPhone 4 to iPhone 8. You have to wait for Xbox Scorpio 1 to Xbox Scorpio 4 to get that. But I don't, if you look at the mid-generation refresh that we had, which was the Xbox One S, that's given me kind of what I need. It gives me, I'm convinced that my Xbox One games look a bit better and they are faster, but it's given me HDR. So when I'm playing those HDR games, like Hitman gets a HDR, Forza looks just incredible on that TV. When I'm getting that, that's good enough for me. I'm happy with that, and I'm happy that Scorpio's going to give me that next thing, the same as I was whenever I put on my PlayStation 4 Pro and I'm seeing those games. Like we're going to get Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm sure that's going to take full advantage of the Pro, because again, it was one of those poster games. So I'm happy with this mid-generation refresh. I've been happy with my phone and my iPad with the mid-generation refreshes, and I'm absolutely happy with that. And I think that's what consoles are going to be. So I don't think that we're going to have that. It's no longer going to be that next big thing. I don't think it's going to be, here's Scorpio 2 is Scorpio times 5. I think it's going to be Scorpio times 2. And that's it. I think that then that's what's going to happen.
I think you might be right, but it does sadden me, because I love that excitement.
But you're still excited. You have a PlayStation 4 Pro that you was excited about on Christmas Day, and you have an Xbox One S that you was excited about. So you're still going to get excited. You just need to temper your expectation.
Not as excited.
But even still, I think that you look at what the generational leap from 360 to Xbox One was. You've said many times that this hasn't been quite the leap and the jump that you wanted it to be, and we've just come so far that it's hard to make that jump anymore.
Yeah,
we've got to the point where graphics, I think even the 360 was I'm not saying it's amazing, but the 360 graphics were still passable by today's standards, and it's not like the leap from GameCube to 360 and stuff like that. We're never going to get that leap again, and you can throw all the pixels that you want at it, but the actual models and everything in the game itself has reached a level where it's full. It's a full world. And so it's not quite the filling, the banishing of the fact that you couldn't move fingers separately. We have reached a level in technology that is just, it's going to be hard to push past unless we're going to do something like, holograms. I think, that's going to be the next big thing, or some new way of visualizing it rather than just on a flat screen.
Yeah, we've it's really bad, isn't it? Because we've passed the time of sort of jaw-dropping evolution within the market. That time's gone. We're good lucky because we've lived through it. We've watched it go from Atari 2600 to Commodore 64 to Amiga to etc. and seen those iterations of improvement. But yeah, we've evolved past that now.
It's all downhill from here, Darren.
But I still put games on, and I'm wowed. I put what did I put? Watch Dogs 2 on the other day. I put Watch Dogs 2 on last night. I put Watch Dogs 2 on just for a quick go, and I was wowed at San Francisco. That was incredible because, as we've said before on the pod, we've reached that plateau of the graphics, but now we have more. The worlds are fuller, richer, full of more content, and just driving around San Francisco in Watch Dogs 2 is incredible. And you couldn't have done that on Xbox 360. You couldn't have done that on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, it's just sort of standard to say jaw-dropping, blew me away graphics-wise, isn't it? I think we got a few games past The Witcher 3 and we were just like, that's just standard. Jaw-dropping graphics, yeah, standard. We're getting tired of saying it. It's amazing.
But that's not a bad place to be, though, is it?
It's not.
That's not a bad default to be that every game is jaw-dropping. We start sounding like entitled gamers if we start going, oh, it's jaw-dropping. Oh, my eyes are melting because it's so lovely. You still look at movies. When you look at movies, when you see like the Civil War, Avengers Civil War. Let's keep it on Marvel. Avengers Civil War. That fight scene in that airport is incredible, and we couldn't have done that 5 years ago. It would have looked terrible 5 years ago, but it looks fantastic now. The Hulk in the Avengers movie looks incredible and so lifelike and real, and it's just more, it's richer and more detail, and I think that's what we're going to get from next generations.
Yeah, the graphics that we are amazed at now, that maybe they're so good that they restrict what you can do in the game. The technology that we'll get in the future will mean that, like you say, the games will still be jaw-dropping, maybe plateau at that, but we'll be able to do so much more with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was only like Dave Cage games, David Cage, those Horizon.
Yeah, David Cage, Heavy Rain, and what have you.
So Heavy Rain, so you had gorgeous graphics, but you didn't have the gameplay there. It was very strict, very kind of script gameplay. But now,
so what we're saying is on Scorpio, the Order 1886 might actually be a game.
Yeah, there you go.
Rather than just a walking simulator.
James,
the next piece of news is with you. Now, talking about amazing graphics, let's go over to mobile.
Yeah, let's switch down a few gears, but it's about Animal Crossing. Now, Animal Crossing has got a big following in our house. So we've got cricket-sized scores of how many hours that we've sunk into the last few, and to the point now where Ali is actually holding off upgrading her phone till she knows which platforms Animal Crossing is going to be released on for phones. So she will be very disappointed to hear that Animal Crossing has yet again slipped for the mobile platform. It has basically been pushed back to next fiscal year, which has the very nebulous range of from April to next March. So we could still be over a year away from Animal Crossing, and this is a game that's already slipped twice. So I am honestly gutted about this. Forget like Super Mario Run. Forget what's the one that's coming out this week? Fire Emblem.
Yes.
Forget Fire Emblem. This is the one that I really wanted. And it slipped, and there's no real reason to say why, but I guess they are just concentrating on one thing at a time, and with Super Mario Run out first and Fire Emblem out next, let's give Animal Crossing some space to develop, which I'm all happy with, but I'm always so gutted when these things just move further and further and further away.
It's the fact that they just said it's in the next fiscal year as well. That's the kicker, isn't it? Because if they'd have said it's June, you could have gone, oh yeah, that's great. But now you just have no idea of where it's going to hit.
Yeah, I can only hope that and this is obviously plucking things out of the air, but me putting the best spin on it possible. I'm hoping they are taking learnings from what they have put out so far and what they will put out with Fire Emblem, and try and just pull it together and go, this is the best thing that we can do. People have been doing this, people have been doing that. Let's harness that and make Animal Crossing even better.
And so Animal Crossing was going to be another free to start, isn't it? It's going to be another free to start game. So that's just So you're right. It's just so I was really looking forward to this. Actually, it was because Fire Emblem, is that coming out on both iOS and Android, or is it going Android first? Because I
think it's going Android first. I don't know whether they've basically got like a sharing system, because obviously Super Mario was iOS first, so it might balance things out in the long run. So who knows? Maybe Animal Crossing will actually come to Windows phones first. We don't know which way this is heading.
And then the internet laughed. For all 4 people on a Windows phone, you get to play this.
How dare you?
I scoff from my ivory iOS tower. But speaking of kind of Super Mario Run and the other Nintendo games, we also got reports from that same kind of fiscal call, from that same call, that Super Mario Run has been downloaded more than 78 million times. So this is just incredible. It was when it was first released, which was on the 15th of December. It had, in 4 days, it had been downloaded 40 million times. So, but now they're saying that the total kind of downloads for this game is 78 million times, with more than 5% have paid for the full version. So this has kind of netted the smart device, the Nintendo smart device division, for fiscal year 2016 Q3, more than 8 million yen. There's 8,000 million yen. It's a lot of yen. I'm trying to work out this graph. That's a lot of zeros. So it's like a million.
Does the graph tend to go up?
It is. It's incredibly. So it's gone for.
That's good.
It's gone.
I understand in business that's good.
It's gone from 100 million yen to 800 million yen. There you go. And so that is just 64 million in the last quarter. Of that, and that's just 5%. For 5% down people buying and unlocking the full version of Mario, it's netted them 64 million.
Wow. I wonder if they sit there and think, we could have done this 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
Why didn't we do it sooner? But it doesn't matter, they're doing it now.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think it's better this way around. I think they've probably hopefully taken a more considered look at the market.
Yeah, they've really kind of they've seen what's good. They now know, as you say, we saw them kind of dip their water with the Miitomo. That was kind of the first kind of one, just to see kind of the appetite, and then obviously they didn't do it, but it was to deal with them, the Pokemon Go, and then Super Mario Run, which kind of was everyone was looking forward to. I mean, that was heavily advertised on iTunes. You know, you could, for the first time, you could actually hit a button and get a notification, so you can say, tell me when this is available, so I can start downloading it, which was bizarre, but there you go. So we've got not tomorrow, a couple of days time of Timer Podding, so Thursday Timer Podding, Fire Emblem will be available on maybe iOS and Android.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how Fire Emblem does, as it's probably one of the lesser known Nintendo titles. So they've gone there with the big hitters. We've got, Pokemon obviously tenuously linked, Mario massive. So when they get down to it and go with a lesser known IP, it'd be interesting to see if we can get some statistics there and just see how well it does. I'm sure it'll be a great game, and not something I'm very aware of, the Fire Emblem series, if I'm honest. So it'll be interesting to see how it does.
It sounds like right up your street. The battles are kind of be grid-based. They're grid-based tactical battles in Fire Emblem. So it sounds like it could be a hit in the Witham household.
Oh, maybe. Or maybe I'll just go and get my DS out and play Advance Wars, which I'm also rubbish at.
Yes, so I think it's very much along that lines, and a lot of people have been, whenever they've been bringing out new Fire Emblem games, have been asking for Advance Wars. So I think it's kind of similar vein.
Wow. Cool.
So there you go. So hopefully, but that's probably what we'll just be playing next week. Like all we've been playing is Fire Emblem. So Darren, the next piece of news is with you.
Yeah, well, if you're like me and you like a bargain, and let's be honest, who doesn't? You may have gone down to Game to trade in a game sometime against a new game that's coming out, or a game that you're buying from the shop. And something that I didn't know, or maybe I was just a bit too cowardly to try until probably the last 3 times that I traded something in at Game, was that they did a price match thing. And I think they've done this for years, where basically if there's a shop nearby within a certain radius of a few miles, they would price match the price that they would trade in the game for you for. That was a nice easy way of saying it, wasn't it? So if there's another shop that will give you more for your game, they would match the price and add £1. Okay?
Right.
Which was quite good if you had some money on your card, on your game card, because you get those points as well. So for ages I never bothered with this, because I don't know, I was too embarrassed to sort of say. I was like a typical British guy just saying, yeah, I'll just trade that in, thanks. And I didn't want to say it. And they never offered it at my shop anyway. But the last few times, I thought, no, I'll make a stand. So I said I'd ring up CEX, for instance, first and find out what they would trade the game in for. And then I'd say to Game, I'll say, how much will you give me for Final Fantasy 15? And they'd say, 75 pence. And I'd say, but CEX say that they'll give me 26 quid. And then they'd say, oh, well, in that case, you have to price match. We'll give you 26 plus a pound, so 27. Job's a good one. So I did that the last few times, and I thought that was quite good, actually. I thought it was quite a good thing that they did. But anyway, it turns out that if you're familiar and if you're happy with that arrangement, Game have announced that they're not going to do it anymore. They're stopping it. They said this week that they're going to stop price matching with competing retailers as of Monday, just gone, 30th of January. They're going to stop doing it. But what they say they are going to do is they're going to raise their trade-in prices for the more recent games, the really ancient games. They're not going to bother raising the prices for them. But for games that will have a competitive price, probably within the last 3 to 6 months, I would imagine, ballpark, they say that they're going to actually give you more on your trade-in price than they used to make up for stopping this price match thing. So it might not be all bad news. It might be easier, actually, if they raise the prices to a price that people think is fair, and you don't have to sort of check at another shop, and they don't have to faff around at the till. It could be quite a good thing to do.
That's fantastic. That's really good. Like you say, it just kind of cuts out that faff, doesn't it? Or having to go, well, CEX said this, because that's probably the only person you're going to trade it in with, isn't it? Because on the high street, it's probably either CEX or Game. So it's just they just need to price match in the background. They need to just like up their prices and match CEX. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then they'll get that. So.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
I think they need to do something like this as well, because obviously I think it's fair to say that we have all tried to make the conversion to digital to a certain degree, and especially with you guys using Boomerang for rental as well. The amount of games on discs we have probably bought between us is probably not representative of what's going on, but the general trend, this is their way of going, guys, look, discs are still valuable, you can still get more from them. So I can maybe see they're trying to drive just initial purchases as well through this one. So not just that sort of the trade-in market, but just that reassurance to people who have that physical media that there is still life in that system.
And value in buying physical, yeah, that you can get that extra bit back, you can do that part exchange at the end of life. So yeah. I don't think it's a sign that they're in trouble. I wouldn't take it as that. Do you guys get the sense of that from that story?
No, I think they've been diversifying reasonably well over the last couple of years. Because obviously, I think it was the start of the Vita, they had problems. So it was a time frame. But you look in it now, and they are almost like a subsection of CEX. They have the phone trades in, they have the tablet trade-ins, but then they've also got enough gaming merchandise around there to help bulk up the deal, to draw people in. Because before Christmas, the thing was full with just T-shirts and the pop figures and socks and general paraphernalia, and so they are reinventing themselves as more than just discs on shelf.
Yeah, they did. They put me in mind. I was quite impressed with the amount of merchandise that was on offer. I used to just look at it and think, this is a trite selection. It's all nothing that would appeal to me. But the last few times I've been in there, I've been like, that PlayStation fleece is actually something that I would buy, and things like that, and Pokemon gloves. Something's caught my eye each time, and it reminded me as if they've taken a note out of the chain that they took over, Game Station, wasn't it? Because they were a lot more. They had a lot more of that merchandise in there. When Game took them over, they closed them down, but they didn't really learn any lessons from them. It was just Game, but it seems very much many years later they're sort of coming around to that sort of, probably by necessity, but they're coming around to that sort of storefront style, aren't they? So I wish them luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So, James, next piece of news is with you.
Yeah, this is a little bit of personal tale that I quite liked, that I saw doing the rounds on the news. It's basically a game that has re-emerged after about 27 years, and it's not so much the game itself that's interesting. I just thought the tale of how they found it was good, because there's a chap called Mark Jones, who used to be a graphical artist who worked on the Spectrum, so we're talking 25, 30 years ago, and he worked on the licensed game Total Recall, so the Arnie film, and he thought it'd gone. This never got released. It was only ever available on sort of a small demo form, and he thought it just lost to the midst of time. But talking to the internet, he found that it was actually released on a front of a Spanish gaming magazine called Micro Hobby.
Wow.
So after all this time, he's managed to track down a launch copy, or at least a launch demo version of his game. And with the help of certain people around the internet, they've managed to hack the code off of that tape and get not a fully working version, but a larger representative version of what the game was going to be. Because they hadn't finished it by the time they put it on the front of the magazine, but they managed to get to secret levels that weren't previously available, get further into the actual progress of the main mission itself. So I just thought it was a really nice tale of, after all this time, it's almost like a reunited, like a Cilla Black moment of like, you haven't seen this game for 27 years. Coming through the door. It's just amazing what I think the power of the internet and archiving those games. It's just another thing I think that needs to happen as time goes forward, making sure that we don't lose all these little bits and pieces that seem so throwaway and trivial at the time.
Well, I'm still getting over the fact that Total Recall was, I presume, coming out at 27 years ago, and I was looking at that and just the text 27 years, thinking that was ages ago, but I remember that coming out, and it just made me feel incredibly old.
Do you know I only saw that for the first time over Christmas?
The original one with Arnie?
Yes.
Well,
everyone kept saying, it's like, you just need to go and see it. You just need to go and see it. So finally, I happened to catch it on ITV, so I sat there building the Ghostbusters Lego Firehouse at the same time. And it was it holds up surprisingly well.
Well, it's difficult for me to imagine what it'd be like seeing it now, because when it first came out, there was a lot of hype, which is minuscule compared to what hype is now. It was like, it went around the playground that Total Recall was coming out. I think I read about it in computer magazines, and at the time, I believe, and I've never checked this out, but it was like the biggest film budget ever at the time, which might have been something like $9 million, seems to spring to mind, I don't know. And we were all amazed, and it was like Arnie was massive, back then.
And it was off of RoboCop as well, because the same guy did RoboCop, didn't he? So the guy's previous film was RoboCop.
Was Total Recall after RoboCop then?
Yeah, so Paul Van Hoven, who's the director of RoboCop, of Total Recall, he directed RoboCop just before.
Oh, wow, man. The sad thing is that they kind of still feel futuristic to me. It's bizarre, because I love Total Recall and RoboCop so much at the time. They wormed their way into my heart, so it's strange to think of something that I looked forward to so much that was such a futuristic thing, and that stayed with me, and then you look at it 27 years ago. It's like bizarre. But I'll have a look at that link, because I'd like to have a little look at the screenshots for that game, I think.
Yeah, it's worth it just to remind yourself that most film tie-ins back then were side-scrolling platformers or, vague attempts at shooting or so. But yeah, it's definitely a blast from the past. As we were talking about the Avengers earlier, and then compare tie-in games like that, and it's like, yeah, we've come a long way, baby.
Yeah, wow. And that's the thing. That's the evolution that we've seen, isn't it? That we're lucky enough to have lived through.
Yeah.
Wowzers. So, Darren, the last piece of news is with you.
Yeah, this is a bit of a sad piece of news, but I thought it was worth mentioning as it was of note. But unfortunately, Namco founder Masaya Nakamura passed away at age 91. We got word this week. The information was only just released, but he actually passed away earlier on in the month, on the 22nd of January.
Right. At
age 91. So Masaya Nakamura was the founder of Namco. So he helped usher in the video games as we know them. His leadership led to the release of Pac-Man in the arcades in 1980, which is, I discovered, the highest grossing arcade game worldwide, which I didn't realise that it was actually that massive. I know everyone knows Pac-Man, but I didn't realise it was the highest grossing arcade game worldwide. So Nakamura is actually considered the father of Pac-Man. He was. I did a look on Wiki, and I thought I'd just go through a few details about this great guy. He was born on Christmas Eve, 1925, and he graduated from Yokohama Institute of Technology in 1948. In 1955, he founded Nakamura Manufacturing. Which is a company that created kids' rides for department stores. And one of these kids' rides he did was putting a ride on top of a department store chain, which I think was called Mitsukoshi. in the early 1960s, and he put one of these kids' rides on top of the building's roof. And this was really popular. And so he got to install more similar rides right across their stores because they were a big chain. And then he renamed the company to Nakamura Amusement Machine Manufacturing Company. Or, if you take the initials, Namco.
Yeah.
And that's where Namco came from in 1977. In the 70s, they went from the mechanical sort of theme park rides into arcade games. And that's when he saw potential in the video game sector, and he hired a number of software engineers to develop their own games and test games. He tested some of the games himself to see if they, for amusement value. He was a games tester. He saw if they had that bite, if they were good enough. He also purchased Atari. He purchased Atari's failing Japanese division from Nolan Bushnell for $500,000. And that was a higher offer than rival Sega, who tried to buy that division for $80,000. That purchase allowed him to distribute Atari's games for a decade and inspired his company to do their own designs, such as Galaxian in 1979, Pac-Man 1980. Pac-Man was developed by one of the guys that Nakamura hired. His name was Toru Iwatani, and he suggested that the Pac name was a shortened form of Paku, which was the sound a character made while they ate the dots and ghosts on the screen. Paku, 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 Paku. So that's where Pac-Man came from. As of now, or 2016, Pac-Man, as we mentioned, is the highest grossing arcade game of all time. I didn't know this. Earning $3.5 billion by 1990, or $7.68 billion adjusted for 2016 inflation. The man himself, Nakamura, said in a 1983 interview that though he did expect it to be successful, he said, "I never thought it would be this big." He's considered to be one of the first to identify the potential of screen addiction due to how much young people would play Pac-Man and his company's other games. They also invested in handheld and the console market, which took off in the 80s, bringing us games like Ridge Racer in 1993, fantastic game, and Tekken, I really love Tekken, 1994. Yeah, so it's a sad loss to the industry, but it seems he lived to a ripe old age at 91, and unfortunately he passed away on the 22nd of January this year, 2017. It looks like he's had his funeral already, but the company are going to do a separate public memorial service for him at some date in the future. So a piece of sad news, but rest in peace, Nakamura-san.
And he leaves a huge legacy behind him as well. So
What a legacy. Namco, some of my favourite games by Namco, and since Namco and Bandai merged, they're a great publisher, some fantastic titles, Dark Souls and Katamari Damacy, showing that they're not only quality but contrasting.
Yeah. Although I think Time Crisis sticks out for me as well. It's because it's not just the pads; it's the arcade ones with the novelty controllers as well.
Yeah, they were amazing in the arcades, weren't they? In the day, something about Namco was a pedigree, a piece of sad news. But as you say, guys, what an amazing legacy.
Indeed, as James was saying about kind of a museum and keeping these games and preserving these games, we should also kind of have kind of all of these icons, these pioneers of the gaming industry should also be kind of immortalised some way in a museum. And I know is there a museum that's starting or has been funded that's in Washington, a video game museum, but this is definitely something where you get kind of people like this where their legacy needs to live on, and we need to understand that they were there. They're the guys that created this amazing hobby.
Yeah, or I posited, it feels like so many years ago now, like in some kind of VR museum, and you've got him. There's an arcade that's full of Namco games, and he's sat there, and you can go and chat to him, and it's all been recorded. And he says, yes, it's the man himself. He says, this is Pac-Man, and he talks you through a history of what happened. It'd be awesome.
Excellent stuff. And with that note, segueing beautifully, it's time to go over to the VR. It's time to segue over to the VR news desk for all the latest in VR.
VR desk.
Hi guys, welcome to the VR desk. Are you feeling VR-y?
The most VRist thing I've ever felt is this desk.
Wow. It is very, very, very virtual. So, that's a very good description. Well, this week, what we have for you, I've got so much news. It's unbelievable. So first of all, a couple of releases that I thought we might be interested. We were talking about John Wick, I think, last week. Turns out they're bringing out a John Wick Chronicles game for the HTC Vive. John Wick Chronicles: An Eye for an Eye is coming out on the 9th of February. It's coming out on Steam for Vive. I don't know about other platforms. Maybe they'll follow. Sounds quite interesting. It puts you in the shoes of John Wick, and you go around the Continental Hotel with an arsenal of weapons from handguns and grenades to sniper rifles and submachine guns. So that might be quite fun. Don't really know anything else about the game yet, but you can pre-order it on Steam for just under £15. Screenshots look pretty impressive, to be honest. It looks really good. But, you know, I wouldn't be rushing to pre-order it personally. I'd wait and see. Maybe I'll get to have a little go on it and I can report more fully in due course. But the film's great.
So I almost feel like it's the mid-90s where I fear film tie-ins for games, although especially VR games, because is it just going to be another wave shooter?
Of course it is.
That's going to come out?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a bit of a theme, hasn't it, this evening with the old film tie-ins?
Yeah.
That's why I sort of petered out a little bit there, because I kind of wanted to say, and James, as you sort of brought it out, I think I will, you know, it's probably going to be a film tie-in rubbish, you know.
Yeah.
It's just in time for John Wick 2, isn't it? So John Wick 2 is coming to the cinema.
Yeah, it's coinciding with that, and that film hopefully will be fantastic. But
I still haven't seen the original. I haven't seen.
I know we were talking about that. You really need to see it. It's good. It's good. But that's the problem with a lot of these tie-ins, isn't it? Is that they have to be rushed to hit the hype, the marketing for the release of the film, and that's often the fault of it. Hopefully, with the Avengers thing, it won't be a victim of that. We'll see. But this, you could argue, this is only going to be a small little experience, so maybe it's polished, but we'll see. Anyway, John Wick, if you're interested and you've got a Vive, have a look. Also, in PSVR land, we have a VR version of Psychonauts coming out, which is pretty cool. Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin is coming out on the 21st of February for all you PSVR people out there. So this sounds cool.
This has got me excited, yeah, because I'm a big Psychonauts fan from the first time around, so I want to see whether this is just a teaser for the sequel or whether this is actually something they're going to run with, because Psychonauts is such a weird world where I think there was like whole levels last time round, wasn't there? It was like a little suburbia place where you were being stalked by a milkman and you were a giant lungfish stomping around a town like you were Godzilla. So I think just the surrealism that they will inject into the world is what is really the focus for VR. I think this could really make it stand out from everything else.
Well, it's sounding a little bit like it might be a bite-sized thing.
A wave shooter.
This week on the VR desk, we're basically going to say everything's a wave shooter. Good night! Because it pretty much is. What they've done, I love it if there was a write-up and it says, like, basically, Psychonauts 2, they've turned that 3D adventure game into a wave shooter. Just for the VR fan in you. But they're saying, I don't think it's going to be a full game because of the wording that my source uses here. And they say, where is it? The standalone VR chapter will chronicle the events between Psychonauts and the forthcoming Psychonauts 2. So it looks like it's a little slice. But it does say that it picks up exactly where it left off at the end of Psychonauts 10 years ago.
I can't remember that far.
Yeah, I only remember it because I think they re-released it on 360, didn't they?
Yes.
They remastered it. So I played it a little bit on that after the PC release. That was a while ago, you know. So you'll use the main character Raz's various psychic powers to manipulate the world and solve puzzles, with the mission taking you straight into the heart of the Rhombus of Ruin. Oh. But I think it'd do quite well in VR because it's set in sort of people's dreams, isn't it? If I remember correctly. You know,
yeah, there's like a psychic camp, and then they used to disappear off into people's heads.
That's right, and it's all very surreal and weird. So that'd be quite interesting to sort of look around in VR. So I don't know how much it's going to be, but it's coming out on the 21st of February. Maybe if it's a bit of a PR stunt for Psychonauts 2. I doubt this though. I was going to say it might be free, but maybe it'll be a cheapie. Maybe it'll be about £7 or £8, something like that. I don't know. But you'll have to let me know, guys, if you do pick it up, what it's like, because obviously it's out of my jurisdiction. over there in PSVR land. I can't quite touch it. I can't quite reach it. I made the mistake. I paid like double the price and bought a whole PC, and I get to play nothing. None of the good stuff. I just get wave shooters. That's all I'm good for. So that's a couple of games that are coming out. And talking about PSVR and being such an elite little space for you two, you're lucky to have one, but lots of people finding it ever so difficult to get hold of one. Stock is scarce, but good news, it's back in stock at a few outlets in the British Isles. We have information from our close sources over at gamesradar.com that it's available and in stock at Tesco Direct, Game, Amazon.co.uk and Amazon Marketplace. Though I don't know if it's a bundle. It must be a bundle because the Amazon prices are a little bit more expensive. It's £415 at Amazon.
No, the Amazon Marketplaces, those people that bought it and we can resell it. I think if you click on the Amazon link, there is one for $349, which is sold directly from Amazon. But the other prices are people just trying to fleece you.
Oh, let's not count those then. So it's in stock at Game and Tesco Direct for the proper price of $349.99.
And Amazon as well. If you click into that link, there's Amazon for $349 as well.
It's actually out of stock.
Right.
Temporarily, anyway.
It was in stock earlier when I put that link in the show notes. It was in stock. I checked each one.
Lose, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's out now. Well, that's how quick it goes, isn't it? That's how quick they go out.
Yes.
You know, once they're in stock, they go out. So I suppose by the time you're listening to this, dear listener, they may have gone from Game and Tesco as well. But it's worth a click. Have a look if you're after one. I did see when I was in Game the other day, they did have the motion controllers in stock, which were supposed to be as rare as hen's teeth, but they were there on the shelves, so at least that's out of the way. And I don't think the video camera is too difficult to get either, the PS4 cam.
Now, again, further down in that article, and I'll stick a link in the show notes. The Games Radar is showing that GameSync, Amazon Marketplace again, and some other deals as well, are all showing that the controller is back in stock. The camera is back in stock. And
the controllers, it's in at the bottom. That's a useful link, actually, for people. They can just go there and look at those main places, can't they, and see if it's there.
So do hens not have teeth? Is that why they're really rare?
You know, I didn't know this till recently, and I read that saying a number of times, rare as hen's teeth, and in the end I looked it up, and no, they don't.
Oh, right.
At least not that I'm aware of. Saying doesn't really work if they do.
Yes.
That's the first time in my life I've ever used the saying rare as hen's teeth, and I regret it. I regret it by being questioned because I didn't really know the answer.
Sorry, I was just like, wow, are they really rare then? I'm going to go and pluck some teeth from some hens.
You find some hen's teeth, man, you'd be a rich man.
Yeah. I'll just take my own out and sell them as hen's teeth. Anyway, next piece of news.
I'm just picturing what that hen would look like. It'd have a beautiful smile. That's what it would have, Anthony.
Yes.
The next piece of news is the final piece of VR news that I've got for you. And this is about a team of guys who have started a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign. What else would it be for a new technology? For their hard light suit. This has been conceived by some students and members of the University of Rochester Robotics Club, Morgan Cinco and Lucian Copeland and Jordan Brooks. They've formed a company called Nullspace VR, and what they want to do is make immersion work even better in VR. They want more presence, they want more immersion. They feel the way to do that is to feel everything when you're in VR, and they've come up with the hard light suit. Now, this is this is a suit that's going to give you haptic feedback. They've spent years researching this prototype. And the design, I'll read you a little bit about what it does. It's got 16 individually controlled haptic feedback zones on mainly sort of on a jacket that you'd wear. It allows you to feel a wide range of interaction with virtual environments, whether it's the sharp impact of a sword, an earthquake, a punch, or the light patter of rainfall. So it aims to make the virtual seem a lot more real. They say presence in VR is a huge concern. we've been talking about it ourselves today. Obviously, so we not only wanted to introduce haptics, which is the sense of touch feedback to add immersion, but they've also added tracking to the suit. So a player can actually see an avatar in-game. Rather than just a set of floating hands, the whole haptic suit would be able to be seen in VR, which is quite cool. They say that makes the whole experience more immersive and interactive. And that's what their hard light suit actually does, which sounds pretty cool. They're saying they've been working closely with lots of VR game developers. They wanted to make sure the suit was up to industry standards, that it wouldn't be a headache for developers to incorporate into their games. So they're taking that all into account when developing this suit. And the weird thing about it is it actually looks, I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, you might have a different opinion, but it sort of looks like a bulletproof vest kind of thing, but with sleeves. And you can see all the haptic pads on it where you'll get this force feedback. And I don't know, for a peripheral, for what it could have ended up looking like, I think it looks pretty good for an early generation of this kind of thing.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it. I don't know whether it's some sort of bizarre, almost like paintball armor. Yeah, because it's got almost like the abs, hasn't it? And like
it feels like,
the
like
pecs
Mass
are
Effect.
Defined out.
I feel like a Mass Effect character wearing this. I'd feel quite cool in it, I think.
I think cool might be overstretching.
Oh, sorry.
I think put a bat symbol in the middle, and it's kind of almost like Year One Batman suit. I quite like it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. You have to wear it underneath a moderately tight T-shirt, and then you can look really cool.
Oh wow! And then you can go out to the clubs. Yeah. Oh wow, Anthony, you could always put a Batman sticker on that circle bit in the middle.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, put a Batman logo on it. I like the material that it's made out of. If they kind of cut a Batman symbol,
it's Kevlar, isn't it?
Be awesome. Yeah, absolutely. That would just be.
I could see you, Anthony, playing your Batman Arkham VR game and wearing this, and you'd feel even more, even without the haptic feedback, because it kind of looks like a bat suit. What do you think? You'd be stood there in that.
I want those headphones that I got to play with at EGX that had the kind of the Batman ears as well. Add those and that suit. I'm Batman.
I can see you stood there prostrated. Oh, bow before me! I'm Batman at last.
I can imagine Nicola coming down to the movie room and going, "Oh Jesus! Oh dear God! He's done it again!" It's like he's suited up.
It was either this or the bees, and well,
yes.
We're getting the haptic top.
Yeah, so I've got a haptic suit instead.
Yeah. Well, they're promising. They say that because they've worked with some of the existing developers very closely, that when they bring it out, it'll have compatibility with 10 to 15 games at launch, and they'll be able to add more constantly being added afterwards. No indication on price, unfortunately. But if you're interested in backing such a suit, the Kickstarter campaign is going to kick off on the 23rd of February. So if you're interested in it, then you can have a look there. I'm not going to back it, but it does interest me. If that's compatible with Vive and the price was reasonable, it's something that I think I'd be tempted to have a go on. So many blooming add-ons, though, what with TP Cast to make it wireless, haptic suit, the blooming tracking thing to add to different things in your house. Crikey. I'll have to remortgage the house to keep up.
Coming soon, VR boots.
Yeah, it's like a wedding. It's like anything you put VR in front of it. It's just a license to print money. But there you go. Haptic suits coming soon, and it's just it's another stage in our assimilation within this all new technology.
Another step closer to Ready Player One.
Oh wow.
And on that note, that's about it for this episode. Big thank you again for listening in. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersoflostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. We're at LostSparkPod. You can find us on YouTube and also on the Gamers of Lost Spark PS4 community and Xbox One Club. Darren, where can people find you online?
You can find me online as Whitemator on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch and Beam. Dazza Gamer on YouTube and at Daz Whittam on Twitter.
Excellent stuff. James, where can people catch up with you?
You can find me as Big Sheep on Twitter and Xbox and PSN, and you've reminded me, Darren, that I need to go to Beam right now before I lose that there.
I'm just going to Beam right now, Big Sheep. So you have to be Big Sheep UK. And for me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live. I'm PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and Chessman UK on Twitter and Nintendo. Don't forget, if you have any feedback, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersoflospart.com. And also, if you're feeling generous, please leave us a review on iTunes. That's about it. We'll catch up with you next week. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Take care.